What's up, brewskis? My name is Marco Dupa, and with me, as always, it's the great and powerful. It's Adam Obesius Rodriguez.
What's up, y'all?
Tonight's brew is from Oviedo Brewing, a little local establishment. Mm-hmm. It's the Reef Rash Imperial Pilsner. Ooh, daddy.
Sounds painful.
And Obi's going to have a little bit more about that after the break. What's on tap for tonight? We're going to give you a quick little, I guess just our favorite moments of WrestleMania. Just a quick little, we talked about it last week and we don't want to leave you guys hanging.
Sure, just a quick recap.
So we'll talk about a little bit of WrestleMania.
Wrestling. Then we'll get into the another combat sport, if you will. Mm-hmm. The old hip-hop.
Apparently.
Drake and J. Cole versus Kendrick Lamar. Yeah. And
then we got another heap and healthy dose of trailer trash. We got the MaXXXine trailer and the Joker
Folie à Deux.
Two highly anticipated trailers.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about those.
Yep. And finally, we're going to talk about a more beer-focused topic than we have in the past. Mm-hmm. But I think it's due time we talk about the situation going on at Cigar City Brewing.
Yeah, it's advanced past the point of ignoring.
We must make a statement.
we must make a statement.
Yeah.
All right, but we can't do any of that until we get into these brewskis and we get into this show. So, without further ado, it is...
Without Folie à Deux.
It's episode 421 of the One Beer In podcast.
Lost to be found by someone to save you when you're down. Yes, I'm bored when it's bright out. So bored when it's bright out. 4 to 5 a.m. takes me to a place where I fit in.
Got a beard hair in mine.
Yeah.
All right. We're good.
Gross.
We're good.
All right. This is the One Beer In podcast, the podcast where two brews crack open a brew and we see where that one brew takes us. My name is Marco Dupa. That's Adam Obesius Rodriguez. Mm-hmm. Let's get rocking.
Clink it.
Brother, what's that? All right, you want to tell the people a little bit more about what we're drinking tonight?
I would love to, but there's no cold read on the can. However, Your Honor, I was able to go to OviedoBrewingCo.com under their current beers tab and have a bit to read off to you. This is the Reef Rash Pilsner Imperial, 8.2% ABV, 40 IBU, and description goes as follows. Brewed and packaged here at Oviedo Brewing Co. in collaboration with our friends at Rock Pit Brewing, located in the Sodo area of downtown Orlando. Reef Rash.
That's why it's called a cold brew. That's why it's called a cold brew, baby. That's why it's called a cold read. We're all stupid.
Reef Rash tells a story of good times had with good friends at an epic beer fest that is hosted by Intercoastal Brewing in Melbourne, Florida every year. The Imperial Pilsner style beer is brewed with lots of bready Pilsner malt. Excuse me. It's already working. To build up a warming high ABV crusher that is also dry hopped with a very fragrant and aromatic German Kalista hop. Kalista has a mild alpha range, but I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But still manages to pack a fruity punch of stone fruits, ruby red grapefruit, and raspberries. White grape. I think they meant white grape and raspberries, but okay. Nice malty bready backbone with warming alcohol and balanced bitterness and aroma. This Imperial Pilsner packs a bit of a punch at 8.2% ABV, but drinks very smoothly. So there you have it.
There's no such thing as a high ABV crusher. So I want to just get that out of their vocabulary right here, right now.
Yeah, it's a bit of a oxymoron, if you will.
Yeah, that's just
that's
8.2%. If you're used to just drinking crushers, real crushers, this is gonna knock you on your ass. 8.2%.
This will crush you.
Yeah. Exactly. Get out of here with that.
No.
All right. Well, let's get right into the WrestleMania.
Wrestling.
I will crush you. Crush.
Must break you.
Must break you. So, WrestleMania 40 has come and gone, and by all accounts was a resounding success.
Yeah.
By pretty much all pundits who aren't suckling at their AEW teat.
And all metrics, really. You know, it was the biggest, I think, in attendance so far. I'm not sure how they did with ratings, because that's kind of hard to do with streaming.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the thing about streaming numbers is we only get the positive ones, so it's hard to compare.
Yeah.
So you just can't really go off of those numbers because it's like who knows until you tell us that that's a good thing,
right?
You know,
right?
Because I saw some metric about like the Netflix movies that come and go, and they're like, oh yeah, we were in 100 million households.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, but the movie has like a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like I think Zack Snyder was talking about that, about like Rebel Moon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was, because he was on another podcast that will not be named.
No, of course not.
And he was talking about the metrics of Rebel Moon.
Yeah.
And he was saying like, sure, you know, maybe the critics didn't like it, but we were in like 1 trillion homes.
Yeah.
He said some crazy number.
Yeah.
And the host, the thumb of a host, was just sitting there going, oh.
And then he bashed him with a bone.
So, yeah, it's hard to take those numbers into account.
Yeah.
But the other metrics, you're right, yeah.
Sure.
Off the charts.
Yeah. And we both watched it. Mm-hmm. You were able to see both nights or just one?
I watched both.
Okay.
So I was, I didn't get out on time to watch either broadcast like at the actual start time.
Sure.
But I went
one
back
of the benefits of streaming, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Didn't have to worry about like, oh no, I missed it, so now I just don't get to watch it.
Yeah.
Or have to watch Raw the next day to get the recap.
Oh yeah. Which is all it was. If you
Yeah.
watched Raw, oh my god.
Oh, I didn't. Is that that's
it was
pretty much-
like 90% recap and the exchange between The Rock and Cody.
I did watch a little bit of that.
Yeah. It was hilarious just seeing the audience reaction.
Yeah.
Because you could tell like it was one of those situations where it could go either way. It felt like it was on a nice edge as far as like how people were going to react to this.
Yeah.
And they ended up reacting by chanting, "This is awkward." Clap, 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 clap.
Well, the thing is, for the I forgot that word. It's just fucking for the non-thinkers, for the non
Watchers,
not the non-watchers. There's a word.
the uninitiated.
For the uninitiated. Thank you. I got it. Raw after Mania is usually like a huge event because WrestleMania is like the culmination of a lot of storylines and the beginning of new storylines. So the Raw after Mania is usually like a big thing because like, a lot of wrestlers come back.
Yeah.
A lot of like storylines get started.
It's like the start of a new season, essentially.
Basically, yeah. So whenever it kind of like comes and goes and it's kind of a dud, people are like, yeah, they get angry. So
I mean, it was. And I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're talking about WrestleMania itself, but Raw. I think the biggest thing that came out of it was sort of a setting of the stage that The Rock's going to go away for a little bit now.
Yeah,
but don't worry, he'll be back.
Well, they're kind of setting up a couple of things because Roman's going to go away for a bit.
Yeah,
Rock's going to go away for a bit.
Sure.
Cena's not coming back for a while. So the older guys.
You think he'll shave his head?
He better.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he'll ever shave his head. I think it's just part of his look. He'd have to. He waited too long.
Yeah.
He waited too long.
Yeah.
He's in too many iconic things with hair to turn around and shave his head.
He's gonna go to Turkey, get a procedure done.
Go to Turkey. That's okay. I didn't get that at first.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's gonna be on that plane with like 60 other guys with a.
Come back with a bandage head.
I think that in Hollywood, I think that there's probably 100 movie stars right now who have had a procedure done that we don't know about. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, there's plenty of people who have fixed their hairlines that like you can look back on
Elon
old
Musk.
pictures and you're exactly. And his shit, fuck him, but the hair
looks
good.
great. It looks great. Yeah, you would never know.
Whatever he did, just keep doing. And the other thing is like
you just need to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
A multi-billionaire. Yeah.
And then once he retires, it's like it doesn't even matter anymore. So like even if he just wanted to wear a wig, you know,
sure.
in wrestling, not good. And that doesn't look good, man. It's because the rest of his hair is so thick.
And then he keeps doing
dark.
he always pushes it back, and it's like so clear why he's doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He shouldn't have grown the hair out.
No.
He shouldn't have done it. He should have just stayed with the shaved head.
Yeah.
Anytime he comes back to wrestling, he should shave his head.
Yeah.
And have like the close cropped military cut.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you know, it's fine. You go off to Hollywood, you grow your hair out, and you want to look like a movie star in your plaid suits. For some reason, he just keeps dressing like a mobster from the 40s. I don't know why he just won't update his suits. I don't get it. They're like plaid and checkered.
I think historically wrestlers are kind of bad at like traditional style.
I don't know if there's ever been a wrestler who knows how to dress. They're all awful. They all have this weird.
I'm sure somebody's gonna pull somebody out of their hat and be like, "Oh, this guy dresses."
I mean, Rocky
incredible.
dressed really good in the 90s. Like those shirts and like, I mean, he looked sick as fuck.
Yeah,
Rocky was good. I mean, all the classic guys who wore suits and then wore the big robes, like Ric Flair, obviously. Was,
Sure.
you know, I mean, he's a classic.
That was his MO.
Yeah, but it's like, all right, if anybody has an opinion on it, take out all the guys who just wore nice suits, because those guys, like, Cena doesn't historically wear suits when he's wrestling. He does it when he's doing like the red carpet stuff, and then he's always wearing a bad suit. So it's not the same.
It's better than jorts. That's all I'm saying.
Not by much. A bad suit is a bad suit.
It's a bad hat, Harry.
Bad hat, Harry. He's got bad hat, Harry.
Anyway, let's get back to the event itself. Brief overview. How would you say this WrestleMania fared for you?
I would say almost top to bottom entertaining. There was some matches that were okay, some like bathroom break kind of stuff.
Sure.
But overall, I'd say it was really, I mean, like a really entertaining, really fun, really surprising. Really, I mean, it was just good 2 nights of wrestling.
I think so too.
The main events were, in my opinion, 5-star stuff.
Yeah, it was good. It was really, really good. I think it basically, not to toot our own horn here, it basically played out the way that we said it was going to.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, there's some toss-ups earlier on, but then the main events are mostly like make sense for a storytelling perspective.
Yeah,
you know.
I thought I'm pretty sure I said this on last week's episode, but I really, really thought the Jimmy and Jay match was going to be better than it was. That one was not a good match, in my opinion. It was really, really not, really boring. Really, I understand the story that they were trying to tell, and I think they told it okay, but from a wrestling standpoint, these are two really talented guys who could have and should have put on just a barn burner. Yeah, but they didn't. It was very boring.
Yeah, I agree with that. But besides that, I mean, it's hard for me to pinpoint anything that I would say is a disappointment. I think it was all at least entertaining.
Yeah.
I had a really good time overall watching, and it's coming from someone who doesn't watch every single week, but like has been increasingly watching more and more on the road to WrestleMania, if you will. So it's been fun. Yeah, I think it. I hope that this brought new people into pro wrestling.
Definitely did.
With The Rock around, obviously, and all that. So I think as far as that goes, I think it was a good representation of what's fun about the sport.
Yeah, wrestling is more mainstream than it's been since the early 90s, I think. People, I mean, it's all over mainstream media.
Sure.
For better or for worse. I mean, there are people who are like, people still believe this stuff? And you can see it in like the ESPN or like Bleacher Report, or like when it gets featured on,
podcasts.
Or like pop culture pages and stuff like that. People are like, well, I thought this was fake. What? I don't understand. People are still watching this. And yet,
report on real sports.
Yeah, and yet millions and millions of people did tune in to watch it. Yeah. So I believe if they can continue this momentum, they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose a lot of people. Sure. That's just what happens. People tune in for like the big the big four.
Yeah, well, it's like people tune in for the Super Bowl and then don't watch football any other day of the year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's gonna fall back down, but yeah, I think they pulled in some newer viewers for sure. They have to continue this momentum though, and that's a tough task because you lost a lot of big name stars for at least the next 6 to 8 months.
Sure. It's a bit of a reset now, and I think that's what Raw was indicative of, is like, where do we go from here? It kind of felt of that, It's like, give us a second. We gotta refigure this thing out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think it was a good time. I do find it interesting that on night one, I think it was night one, they opened up with Stephanie McMahon.
That was night two.
Night two.
Yeah. Night one, they opened with Triple H.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting.
And they brought out CM Punk too.
Yeah. Punk was out there for the because he was part, storyline.
Yeah,
he was out there,
of course. No, he's just there to commentate.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
he's got a cast on his arm. He couldn't possibly.
Dude. I popped. For that.
I did too.
I was like, let's go.
He ripped the brace off. Oh, that's good. That if we're talking favorite moments, that I think may have been my favorite moment of the
that was
of the nights. I think I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, that was awesome. Because
and then Priest coming out with
Yeah.
the Money in the Bank. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like, that genuinely surprised me. I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I forgot he had that still.
No, exactly. And then music hits and you see all the lights change and you're like, oh shit, they're still doing. I forgot all about
Yeah,
that.
Sherry's like, they can do that. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, I had to explain it too. I
Yeah.
had to explain it to Andy.
yeah.
Like the whole bit. For CM Punk CM Punk's probably my favorite current wrestler. So it's really fun. I was really worried that when he got injured, like, oh no, he's going to have to fucking go away for a while. He just came back. And to know that he's going to be around, even if he's just around messing with Drew for the next 3 or 4 months.
Right.
And then they have, they're building their thing and then they finally have their match. As long as he's still on TV, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And as of this recording, we haven't watched AEW yet. But apparently they're supposed to be showing some damning evidence that Punk is. I don't even know what Tony Khan thinks is going to happen with this video.
I don't either.
Long story short, I'm not going to bore you to tears with this. There was a backstage incident. Punk has talked about it. Other wrestlers have talked about it when Punk was with AEW, the rival corporation.
Sure.
Apparently, there's footage of the incident which would effectively disprove the things that Punk has been saying about the incident. So, Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, is going to play it live on their flagship show.
Yeah.
And who knows what's going to happen. So we may talk about it next week, or maybe it falls on deaf ears and it's a dud, and maybe it's a bait and switch, maybe it's a weird. Who knows?
I mean, I just get the feeling, regardless, it's not going to matter.
It's not going to matter. No, there's nothing in that video save for him kicking a puppy that's going to change anybody's opinion on what happened.
Sure.
Maybe he was lying about it. Maybe nothing happened. Maybe he wasn't the tough guy that we thought he was. Who cares?
Yeah.
He's in another company. He's working
We've
on
all
a
moved
storyline.
on.
Yeah, no one cares.
No one cares.
Even when Punk was talking about it on Ariel Helwani's show, he didn't even want to talk. He was just like, I'm so tired of. I don't want to engage with this. Helwani asked him, and he answered. And So anyway.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, as we were saying, I do think it was interesting that we opened night 2 with the disgraced former owner's daughter and now current. What's Triple H considered?
The COO.
COO.
Yeah.
Of that company's wife.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of it's a tangled web we weave.
Yeah,
my
and
friend.
she's not. Apparently, she's not with the company in an executive role.
Sure, but I think it was a little daring to have her come out, even uttering the name McMahon after everything that's happened. Was it kind of made me go, ooh, they're not kind of pushing it away or dusting it under the rug.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to do something like that because. Talking about them garnering mainstream audience and attention and all this stuff, the mainstream only people who are not into wrestling have read the stories about.
Oh yeah,
all of that was huge stuff. So even people who are like, Oh shit, I didn't even know they were still wrestling. Oh wow, it's a $1 billion corporation.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Vince McMahon is a terrible human being.
monster, yeah.
Oh wow, more and more people were finding out, knew about this stuff, and didn't do anything about it.
yeah.
So it's like it's still ongoing, and we may
Yeah.
find some stuff out about Triple H. We may
Sure.
find more stuff out about Stephanie. So
Right.
yeah, to your point, it's very daring to wheel her out there because the wrestling audience is not going to care. They love the McMahons.
Yeah.
But mainstream audiences are going to be like, isn't that...
Yeah. Well, and her little speech was, I think, was pretty indicative of exactly what you would think they would want to do, which is distance themselves in the current day from the past eras. Because her entire spiel was like, look, I've been here from WrestleMania 1. I was backstage, I remember.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud that we're now in this new era.
Yeah.
They kept saying new era.
Paul Levesque era.
Right. And so I think that was sort of a way of them cleanly turning the page, at least on face value.
Yeah.
On the dirtiness of the past. We'll see what comes of that.
They're putting a lot of faith in Triple H.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For
So.
sure. And I think if if we can be so hopeful in thinking that there's no dirty laundry, at least not enough dirty laundry to like ruin his career too. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think I was telling Sherry actually, like, I think it's so savvy of a company to now have handed over the reins to someone who's done it before.
Yeah.
It just makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Instead of it just being an executive who's always been an executive and has always been, the king of this castle, trying to, get all these peons in place. Instead, have someone who's, been through it all.
Yep.
They know how to lead because they've been there before.
Yep. And they
Smart.
know how to talk to these guys. They know how to speak their language, and they know how to speak the executive language.
And they know how to
that role now.
and they know how to speak the language of the audience too. They've been around for it all. So I think that's really smart. Again, pregnant pause, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah,
because we'll see. But as far as WrestleMania 40 goes, I mean, if I had to rank it, or not rank it, but rate it, I would probably give it a 5 out of 6. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the highs were super high, and the lows weren't that low.
No.
So yeah, I'd say 5 out of 6 is a.
Don't have many complaints.
Yeah, I think that's a good score. I think the only thing that really drags it down is Imperial Pilsner. Some of the early matches didn't hold the attention.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that should have been a little bit bigger wasn't as big, but I mean those main events, man. That Gunther and Sami Zayn match.
Ooh.
Boy howdy.
Yeah.
Just good night of wrestling. Just a good 2 nights of wrestling.
That right there is a barn burner.
Barn burner.
Hell yeah.
One last question about it.
Uh-huh.
People have been talking about the 2-night format versus the 1-night format because in years past, these pay-per-views are usually one day.
Yes. One big night.
Excuse me. One big night. When I went to WrestleMania 33 in Orlando, dude, we were there all day.
Yeah.
And it was exhausting.
Sure.
By the time we got to the main event, I mean, we were still cheering our asses off, but I can tell you, man, it was tiresome. It was like putting a full shift in at a warehouse.
Yeah,
it was tired. It was tiring.
Sure.
But on the other hand, dedicating a whole weekend to one thing, that's kind of tough too.
Yeah.
So my question is, what do you think what do you think is what is the way?
This is the way.
Two night 4-hour shows, 1 night 8-hour show. What do you think?
That's tough. That's tough because it can. There are pros and cons either way. Tony cons, if you will. No, I think I kind of preferred the 2-night. It kind of spreads the fun out a little bit, and I think it would be, even from a sitting at home audience perspective, be a little too much after 8 hours. Like I find that with UFC fights sometimes. It's like if it starts at like 8 and it goes until 1 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm kind of done with this by now.
Yeah, you get to that main event and you're like, I'm a little tuckered out.
Yeah, knock him out. Knock him out.
Okay, can we get this over with?
Yeah.
I gotta be at work tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of like that idea of like stretching it out a little. It makes it feel more like an event, like a holiday almost. You know?
Yeah.
You get a couple of nights in. I mean, I could even see them doing like a Friday night, Saturday night, so people don't have to worry about Sunday night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. I think spreading it out, it's a smart idea, especially when you have the format where you're seeing some of these performers 2 nights in a row, and it's like one night leads into the other one. There's there's threads here.
You're still telling stories.
Yeah, and that keeps you coming back.
Yeah.
So you don't just be like, I'll just catch Friday or Saturday. I mean,
Right.
And skip Sunday. It's like, no, you can't. You have to see it all.
Yeah.
Smart. I don't know. I like it personally. I do think if I were there in Philly, it would be overwhelming as a fan because they were there for like 5 nights.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
It's crazy. It's insane. I mean, they were there for Raw even right afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like,
you gotta really like wrestling, man.
Buddy.
Some people spend their lives are dedicated to the one thing. Stan culture has gotten people to the point where they're like, I'm just gonna dedicate my life to this one artist or this one sport.
this is all I will do.
So some people, they're into that.
Yeah.
They'll spend a work week
Sure.
just consuming wrestling. I cannot do that.
No,
even as
that's
a
too
wrestling
much.
fan, I cannot do that.
I don't think I could really do that for anything.
No, there's
You
not
know,
one
like-
thing that I'm gonna just no. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the pay-per-views should be one day,
Yeah.
and they should be shorter pay-per-views. They should be 5 to 6 hours. They shouldn't
Yeah.
be 8-hour spectacles. But WrestleMania is a once-a-year thing.
Yeah.
It's a big. It is the culmination of a lot of wrestling for that year.
Sure.
So I do think that should be a 2-night event, but I don't think that they should make a habit of doing 2-night events for like all of their. That's too much. I'm not
agree.
spending because even WrestleMania 40, I was like, I could have. I for one like I like the idea of like a big thing where friends come over and we just put it on. And then all day that thing is on and we're all hanging out and like maybe I'll barbecue or whatever. And it's like a party.
Sure.
But the thing is on in the background until like the important matches come up. And then it's like, all right, now we pay attention.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you treat like UFC events.
Yeah.
When someone actually buys one.
You put it on.
You put it on.
All day you're hanging out.
There's like the pre-prelims. Then there's the prelims. And then there's the main card.
Right.
And then there's the actual main fights.
Right.
Like
and it's only when like the guys that we like, guys and girls that we're like, all right, this is the fight that we're,
Everyone starts settling in.
Yeah. I like that shit. So, yeah. 2-nighters. That should only be reserved for WrestleMania.
I
and
agree.
it makes it more special, too.
It does. It feels like an event. It feels like a real event.
2-night WrestleMania event of the year.
Yeah.
The showcase of the immortals. Okay. I think we spent longer on this than we were.
We did. Yeah, we did. So it's not intended to be a segment
No,
in
it
itself. But anyway, yeah, it was a good time. Recommended. Highly recommended.
This is the One Bear Podcast. All right.
This has been a good time.
This has been a good time. This is One Bear Podcast. I think we
Beep, 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 beep.
Speaking of fights, all day fights, two night events,
2-night events,
48 hours of talking about one thing.
Yeah.
If you're a hip hop head, or even if you're not a hip hop head, I mean, this spilled over into just people like just giving their casual opinions on this thing.
Yeah.
You've got
Power of Drake, baby. He brings in that pop audience.
That he does. He does. I mean, they are these three guys, Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and J. Cole, are definitely the 3 biggest names in rap music.
Arguably, yeah.
There are people, it's a sliding scale, right? Some people come and go, some people make noise, and then it's like, all right, now we're talking about Future, or now we're talking about Freddie Gibbs, or now we're talking about Griselda. But if we're talking about consistently, the top 3, if you ask most people, they would say Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole. So Metro Boomin and Future put out an album called We Don't Trust You.
Mm-hmm.
And on it is a little track called Like That. And on that little track is a little feature from a little artist named Kendrick Lamar.
He's a little artist.
He's just a little guy.
He's a little
just
guy.
A little dude.
Short king.
And he proceeds to call out Drake and J. Cole. And this has started this
But
conversation.
Marco, why would he do that?
But why? Because he felt like it, really. He just kind of felt. I mean, we don't have time to really get into the entire history of these guys calling each other out back and forth over the course of their entire careers. People try to make it seem like Kendrick just woke up and
chose violence.
And he didn't. I mean, this has been an ongoing thing for years.
And he's been known to, pop off on people randomly.
Right. Yeah, exactly. This is not the first time, and it probably won't be the last.
Yeah.
So he does that, and then people impatiently wait for something to happen. Who's going to respond? How are they going to respond? How is it going to be on an album? Is it going to be one track? Is it going to be a diss track? Is it going to be a verse? What are they going to do? Surely they're going to respond.
Yeah.
Because that's what these guys do. This is the top three. This is,
you got
3 of the 4 of your Mount Rushmore. That rhymed. I might put that in something.
Wow.
And you give it, I don't know, 48 hours, 72 hours, and here is J. Cole with a surprise album release. Well, mixtape, quote unquote, which holds no water.
Sure.
And,
well, especially given the name of it too.
Yeah.
It is such a half step.
Oh, I hate it. I hate it.
Might delete later, right?
I hate it so much. Yeah, it's
that the name? Might delete later.
I don't get. I think it's so.
It's such a soft, it's like a bunt.
Sometimes I feel like I'm insane when I have certain thoughts on stuff like this.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, how is it not the consensus that, first of all, it's a terrible album cover.
Yeah.
It's just the words distorted. It's a terrible album cover. It's a terrible album name. In this day and age, Might Delete Later is such a weak thing to even say. The sentiment is
I don't mean this.
You are saying something controversial, and you don't really want the smoke about what's going to come from this, so you might delete it later.
It's a toe dip into whatever you're talking about.
So even
it's
even
the opposite of
sentiment,
standing on it.
Exactly. So I just don't. To me, I'm like. As soon as it when they announced,
I was a little flabbergasted. I was like, "What are you doing? What's happening?"
So he has a song on this mixtape called 7 Minute Drill, and it is a response to Kendrick, wherein it's kind of like a little warning shot of this is what's gonna, and he says some stuff about his albums and how they're not as good and how he's overrated and I got shooters,
puts the fellas to sleep,
Baran.
That's what he said.
And it only took a day and a half before J. Cole was like, I can't do this. It doesn't sit right on my heart, on my soul.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So J. Cole has his own festival, the Dreamville Festival. And on it, he comes out and he apologizes for dropping the diss record and says that it doesn't sit right with him, and he did it basically because he felt the pressure to respond. He felt the pressure that comes with being one of the top artists in the game, one of the big 3, quote unquote.
Sure.
And it all didn't feel right to him to stand on this diss record because it was disingenuous by his own admission.
Sure.
And now here we are with a debate raging across the internet of what this apology means for his legacy. Who's better? Does this prove anything? Does this disprove anything? I mean, it's been a really fun and infuriating conversation to be a part of and to watch take place on the internet, because there's been a lot of takes, man. I cannot tell you.
Oh yeah, no, there's been tons. And I don't know if you saw this, but the response, not the response, but the reaction that Joe Budden had. Did you see that?
I've seen people talk about it. I haven't sat down and watched his podcast, but
so his dramatic ass. He has said, and he stated that he's heard from other rappers, currently in the industry, saying that the reason why J. Cole did that was because it's like a known sort of secret that Drake and Kendrick both have songs lined up for each other.
Okay.
So after understanding that, J. Cole's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I fold. You guys go ahead. So he said he's heard from reliable sources that this is an arms race going on right now. And by as soon as this weekend, there will be responses fired at each other.
Okay.
And apparently J. Cole has the insider information to be like, you guys have fun with that. That's not what I'm about. See you later.
But, okay, if that's the case, then say that.
Sure.
I think that would have gone over better if he was like, listen, I put out a diss record, and I'm hearing through the grapevine that I might, I think I'm just going to cash my chips in,
Yeah.
and I'm going to let these two guys go at it. I'm not
Right.
going to say anything other than that. And I think it could have, like, really, he didn't have to bow out, or he didn't have to apologize.
Yeah.
He could have bowed out and just been like, I heard that some crazy shit's about to pop off.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm good.
Yeah.
I just put out my surprise mixtape. I'm also got the off season coming out.
Don't
very
hurt me.
soon.
Don't hurt me.
Or the fall off rather. Sorry, the fall off is coming. I'm good. I'm gonna just let y'all have it.
According to some, the fall off is already here.
Did you see that one tweet that some guy was like, or no, it was a Reddit post. It was on J. Cole's subreddit where they're like, this is him playing a character. He's falling off on purpose. And then when the album comes out, is gonna be like a whole concept album about how he fell out, and people even on the subreddit were like,
I
bro.
suck. I suck. Yo, I suck.
They were like, dude, see someone.
Seek help.
This is an unhealthy
Stop
way
it.
to engage with this.
Stop it. Get some help.
Get some help. Yeah. So hey, if that's the case, here's
It's like the Wachowskis with Matrix 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
I just watched the first Matrix last night actually, and I mean it holds up.
Oh, it's incredible.
And do you remember? Maybe we talked about that tweet that said that like. Maybe we didn't talk about it. I just was so angry about it.
Okay.
It was that painting of the guy standing up. I think it's like, I don't know. The white dude standing up, and he's like giving, and he's like, and it's usually followed by someone giving an opinion, like a controversial
Oh
opinion.
yeah. The Norman Rockwell.
The Norman Rockwell, yes.
Hanging
That's
up,
how I thought it was
yeah.
Rockwell, but I was like, if I say that and I'm wrong, I'm gonna sound
no.
like such a jackass.
No. It's definitely a Norman Rockwell.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that meme, the guy.
It's usually followed by a controversial opinion.
Yeah. Usually followed by the worst opinion you've ever read.
Sure.
And this person was like, he used that meme and he was like, the Matrix is, it aged poorly, it's ham-fisted, it's overwrought, just all of these really shitty opinions. And it's like, no, dude, if there's a movie that's aged better,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's one better than the Matrix.
I mean, I think it's up for contention for like the best sci-fi movie of our generation.
Yeah. And
You
to watch that movie with 2024 eyes and say, oh, this is a time capsule of a bygone era. No, dude.
No.
That movie works.
People wanting to live via Avatar?
The
The fact that people call other people red-pilled and blue-pilled? What?
Exactly.
Are you kidding
No,
me?
it's such
changed our vernacular?
asinine opinion. I
Stupid.
couldn't. It made me so mad.
Stupid.
So that movie holds up.
It's a bad opinion.
Yeah. So
Get a better one.
Yeah, he's not being bad on purpose. He's and this, I'll just say, the mixtape might delete later. If you're a J. Cole fan,
Yeah.
I think you'll like the mixtape. It's a good mixtape. As far as if you're a J. Cole, I don't really like. I like when J. Cole. I like the really highs of J. Cole. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
The middling, like, decent releases, to me, they just don't hit for me. I don't think he's as deep as other people think he is.
No.
I don't think he's as talented as other people think he is.
You know what's so weird to me is that I really enjoy more than anything that J. Cole's ever released. I enjoy the things that he doesn't officially release.
Yeah.
Like all those little side songs that he's just put out randomly.
Like False Prophets is a good one.
Incredible songs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why don't you just do this on stuff that you actually put out?
Yeah.
I would buy this from you.
Yeah.
If you just did this all the time. But I don't know. I've never really connected with J. Cole like that, honestly. Like, I respect him. I think, he's a good artist. People obviously like him for a reason. But, yeah, it's just some of those corny lines, some of the, I don't know. Just, I like his voice. I just don't necessarily like his flow all the time.
Yeah.
And to make it worse, I feel like people put him on a pedestal.
His fans make it worse.
Right. In a way that I feel like Kendrick's detractors say his fans do for him.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of, it's a reflection of exactly that.
Yeah. I'll say this about Kendrick's fans that people do get right. Some of them do come across as pretentious,
holier than thou.
Yeah, for sure. Because when your favorite artist has won a Pulitzer Prize, it's kind of hard to argue the merits of artistry,
and has made an album dedicated to the fact that he has a messiah complex.
Yeah. So a guy who acknowledges his own faults in that way so vulnerably, it's hard to argue against that. So I will say that, like, it can come across as like very pretentious, very holier than thou. So I do think that those criticisms are valid. But then when you when you compare the music, when you listen to J. Cole's music and some, like, I don't know how you could have him as the best out of the three. I would honestly, man. If Drake hadn't put out these last three projects, I would say that I enjoy Drake's music more than J. Cole's music.
I think that's valid. I mean, I was gonna say,
I don't like Certified Lover Boy, and I don't like Honestly Nevermind, and I don't really like Her Loss.
Yeah.
And I don't like his most recent stuff, but Scorpion and Backward.
Yeah.
I would say that I enjoy listening to Drake more than I enjoy listening to J. Cole.
I think, I mean, for me, it's Kendrick, Drake, J. Cole.
Yeah.
And the reason why, please give me a second to explain, is because I feel like J. Cole gets stuck between the two, where Kendrick is this very conscious, very vulnerable, very artistic, very unique artist within hip hop. It's kind of testing the boundaries of modern day hip hop, and does so successfully, in my opinion. Drake is, exactly what you're going to get from him. Basically, he's like McDonald's, like. I don't know if he'd take that as a compliment. Well, it is meant as one, but there are downsides to that, obviously.
Right.
It's factory made music for the most part.
Yeah.
Never gets too deep, never gets too experimental, never tests the boundaries very much, but is very accessible, very reliable.
Yeah.
You're sure to get at least a couple singles out of most albums. And like, if you like that, it's there for you. It's all reliable. That's a Drake.
Reliable.
J. Cole falls in the middle there somewhere, where it's like, it's clear he has artistic ambition. It's clear he can be vulnerable in his songs. It's clear that he also has an ear for kind of what is popular at the time too.
Yeah.
He's also listening to that and trying to do that. But I just feel like he can be a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
Yeah.
I think his message is unfocused.
Yeah.
I think that whereas Kendrick's projects, each one, it's very clear. And the other thing is, let me preface this by saying, I don't think any artist is as deep as most people think they are. And maybe
because you bring your own stuff to whatever they're doing, if they're a good artist, I feel.
Right.
If they're good enough, their storytelling, their message or whatever is enough for you to kind of build your own story within it based on your own experience.
Right. And so Kendrick's projects, each time he's put something out, I think the story and what he's trying to say, I think it comes across pretty clearly.
Yeah.
And it's provocative, gets the people going. it's thought provoking.
He can make bangers though too,
Right.
You know,
right. So I mean, he's supremely talented. I mean, So I don't know if it's obvious, but I do think that he's number one out of the big three. I mean, Kendrick to me is the best modern rap artist.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think there's anybody in the past 10 to 15 years who's put out a better discography. I mean, there are people before that time frame who are still putting albums out that you can argue. I'm not arguing those people. I'm arguing the past decade and a half. I don't think there's anybody who has a better collection of music.
I gotta agree.
Lamar.
I gotta agree.
So his message is always really clear. Same thing with Drake. I mean, the message is always very clear. Whether you agree with that message or whether you rock with it is one thing. With it. Yeah. But I think that that's where J. Cole falters sometimes. Is like there are songs, even on this most recent project, where like people's perception obviously comes into it, and they say like, you know, he's this, you know, super sensitive, poetic, like, you know, he's a guy you can play around a hose. And then he has a song called Hide Your Bitch. Like, you know, it's like, it's a very muddled, unfocused message. And
Mixed
I think
messaging.
that's where, I think that, to your point, I think that J. Cole always seems to find himself trying to fit where he can. He is supremely talented.
Sure.
There are definitely moments where you're like, this guy. I mean, I thought this was the Messiah.
Oh, that's what he was. That's what he was like branded as.
Yeah.
When he first dropped,
and it made sense. His first couple of mixtapes, right up until his debut album, you were like, oh, this is the guy. There's no one better than this. This is the coming of Jay-Z and Nas put together. There's no. I don't know if there's ever been. It's like a guy who very clearly won Rookie of the Year, but was putting up MVP numbers, and you couldn't give him the MVP because you're like, no one's ever won MVP in the rookie season.
Right.
But like, he put up MVP numbers.
Yeah.
So
you were the chosen one.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to be very clear that I like J. Cole as a person, and let me be clear. I think that he just hasn't fulfilled the promise that these other guys have.
Yeah.
Drake has fulfilled the promise of Far Gone.
Sure, yeah.
Kendrick has fulfilled the promise of OD and Section 80. Like those, they have fulfilled those promises. I don't think J. Cole has done. I shouldn't say he's never put out a really good, because Forest Hill Drive is amazing, and
certified hood banger.
Great. Yeah, and I like KOD more than other people like KOD. So. You know,
that was a good album.
I thought it was. Yeah, so I'm not saying that he hasn't.
Really good album.
I'm trying to be as pragmatic and as diplomatic as possible because I don't want people to misconstrue the message here.
Yeah,
I don't think that he's trash, but I don't think he's as good as the other two.
I think we should let it be clear.
Let me be clear.
I think we are all fans of J. Cole, Drake, and Kendrick here.
Yeah,
just differing levels.
Yeah,
of fandom. But they certainly, I think I can speak for both of us in saying they deserve to be in conversation for top 3.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll talk about this again if there is in fact this secret nuclear facility just waiting to blast off these diss tracks from Drake and Kendrick.
Yeah. Beef has historically made hip hop always exciting.
Sure.
I don't,
for better or worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't rock with the opinion that beef is necessary for hip hop.
Yeah.
I don't rock with the opinion that hip hop is born out of competition, and that competition is a requirement to make good rap music. I don't rock with any of those opinions, but I will say that beef and diss records does make hip hop exciting, because you're like, I can't wait to see what happens next. I can't wait to see what this guy says. Is he going to take it too far? Is the song going to be good? Is he going to put it on an album? All of these really fun conversations spring up from two guys having a disagreement. So that's It really, it's like you're watching two people argue, and as long as it doesn't get violent, you're sitting there going, it's the Michael Jackson meme where you're just, you got your popcorn and you're just, it's like, oh, I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he went that far. Why? I thought these two were friends.
Well, and it is a perfect vehicle, unlike any other type of music, for that.
Yes.
Because of its lyricism. It makes it so much easier to make that so clear, like make your statements clear, make your voice heard, because it's hip hop, as opposed to like, there have been country songs that have talked bad about other country singers and things like that.
I was part of this discussion on Twitter about diss records in other genres.
Sure.
Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah, of course, famously.
There was, I'm trying to think of the other ones that people brought up. Only a Fool Would Say That. Steely Dan classic. It's actually a record about John Lennon.
That's funny.
Yeah, apparently like he's the fool in the song. So like, yeah, it's definitely not.
And then they shot him.
And then Steely Dan shot John Lennon.
That's the secret.
Steely Dan is one person. That's his nickname. Steely Dan.
That's why it's called Steely Dan.
he
keeps that steel on him.
So
he's got that 5 pound on his waist.
It's even more fun in other genres because you're like, I can't believe this guy has 4 bars and he dedicated 2 of them to talking shit about another folk singer. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, hip hop is it's ripe for competition. It's
uniquely competitive.
It's the same thing. It's funny that like rap gets compared to wrestling, and a lot of people use wrestling as an influence, myself included. Sure, obviously, if you know any of my projects,
there's lots of crossover.
Because it makes sense. Like that kind of stuff, that kind of shit talking, the competition breeding more success for everybody involved as long as you don't get embarrassed. All of that stuff does make hip-hop exciting. And we know people at the top of their game like this and at the top of the charts and at the top of this level of success, Drake is not going to have anybody murdered. Kendrick Lamar is not going to kill anybody. No. It's just going to be... And that was the thing that was part of the reason why everybody was so disappointed in J. Cole apologizing. Now, I just want to say, for the record...
Yeah. Yana,
if he felt uncomfortable with the diss record, I don't have any problem with him going, you know what? I don't really want to engage with this stuff because, like, I like Kendrick as a person. He's my friend, and I said the stuff that I said, and I don't even believe the stuff that I said. And I said it because I thought that it would get a rise out of people. And now that I've sat with it for a little bit, it just doesn't sit right with me, and I don't like it, and I want to apologize. You know, I've been in those situations where you say something, you go too far, and you're like, you know what? Now that I've said it, it's left my mouth. I don't feel good about it. But I apologize.
I agree, but you know what he could have done instead? He could have sat with it before he released it.
Well, yes, I agree with you completely.
Because it's not like he said something, off the cuff at a party after a couple of drinks. He sat there, he went to a studio, recorded a song.
Yeah.
They mastered it, put it out on streaming services. Yeah. And then he went, I don't think I should have done this.
No, he waited for the response. That's what it was.
Sure.
If he got a resounding J. Cole's winning this battle response, I think he would have responded differently. It was the fact that people were like, what the fuck was that? That's when he turns around and he's like, I don't really, I feel maybe I went a little too far. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said the things that I said. I don't like it. I take it back. And I can take it back because I'm allowed. I'm allowed to take it back.
I might delete it later.
I might delete later. That's why I called it that. Because I already knew I was going to delete it, and that's why I called it that.
So you know what he could have done? Mind you, again, I think calling it might delete later is a foul in itself.
Yeah.
Agreed. But because it was called that, he did give himself some leeway. So what he should have done, instead of embarrassing himself at his own festival, he should have instead, without saying anything, maybe after this week, deleted it.
Oh yeah, that would have been fun.
Just and not ever mention it again.
Yeah.
To be like, if you were there, you were there.
Yeah.
And you listened to it.
That would have been actually kind of sick if he did that. Might delete later. The project comes out. If you didn't listen to it over the weekend,
Right, it's gone.
Gone.
It's gone. And obviously people downloaded it and stuff, so that's fine. But just to not have it available anymore is like, that's cool. That's an interesting concept. You said what you felt like you needed to say in the moment. You can talk to Kendrick, man to man, and say, look, I put this out because you came at me. I had to say something.
Yeah.
No hard feelings. Go ahead and do what you're going to do.
Well, and the thing is, to call it that and not act on it only reinforces the idea of the sentiment of might delete later, which again is a weak thing of going, I have an opinion and I'm going to share it, but I'm not going to stand on it.
Yeah.
Because I'm afraid of what's going to come when I say this thing. So I'm going to delete it later. So not deleting it, apologizing, you're only reinforcing that sentiment that you didn't really stand behind that diss record. And the thing is, what I'm seeing now, which is unfortunate, is a lot of people listening to the project and hearing him say, I'm the best rapper alive, I want the smoke, I'll go toe to toe with anybody, I'm better than all these guys. All of those things ring hollow now.
Yeah.
Because of this. I saw somebody say this song. Obviously I don't remember the fucking Twitter name, but it was true. He could have lost the battle and still called himself the best because that's just a rapper calling themselves the best. And if you believe that and you fight for that, that you can still do that, even if he took an L in the battle.
Sure.
Apologizing definitely hurts his legacy in a way that, like, it's hard to say. It's hard to really calculate right now how much it hurts his legacy. I think, and I said this on Twitter, I believe that as long as you continue to put out good projects, you can still
all will be forgotten.
Yeah.
And forgiven.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's fine.
But it does dent your legacy because, people still bring up the fact that Drake was accused of having ghostwriters. People still.
Of course.
I think that if you're reading this as Too Late is Drake's best project, and that's the project that everybody says Quentin Miller wrote on. So that always gets brought up in the conversation of, like, if he's the greatest. Same thing with Kanye. Kanye has readily admitted that he has ghostwriters.
Sure, yeah.
Drake is one of them, ironically enough. So,
but when Drake gets that, he's like, which one of you guys want to write for Kanye?
yeah, right, exactly. So, it's definitely going to be a part of his legacy.
Sure.
And that's the part that's the worst part about it.
But it could be a minor blip on an otherwise good career.
I don't know.
Could be. It could be if he comes out and makes like a banger of an album right afterwards.
The Fall Off is the next track or the next album, and it better be like, he says it's, people who have listened to it really like it. He says it's the best project he's done.
I didn't say it. Other people say
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's an interesting time right now because, any of these guys have the talent and talent and ability to just turn around and pump out 10 to 15 songs.
Sure. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to see.
Well, you don't hear that much from Kendrick either. That's the other thing. It's like he puts stuff out. Like even the song itself, the song that started all of this was not announced before the project came out.
And there wasn't even, at least from Spotify, there was no mention of him on the track.
No.
It's just people
they didn't
were
put
like,
the track,
what?
The features out.
Yeah.
So you had to have been a fan of Metro Boomin or Future or both.
Future, yeah.
Listen to the project and then get to like that.
Yeah.
And then listen to the song and then go, oh, that's Kendrick. Oh, he's talking about. Oh, what?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
And
cool.
and again, it's like Kendrick doing something that's these other guys are not doing, which is like doing something like that and then walking away and going like, all right, now it's like, he just dropped a grenade in the middle of and he was just like, all right, now you guys deal with the aftermath.
Deal with it.
And then we'll come back later and see who's still standing. And then that's the person that I'm going to go after.
Yeah.
And right now, it honestly feels like Drake is the person that's still standing because of his level of success.
Sure.
And because of the perception that he is a guy, he's so successful.
The cult of personality around him alone is like enough to claim him as like being up there with Kendrick or better.
Yeah, absolutely. The conversation about his place amongst Mount Olympus,
the Pantheon,
is
Pantheon,
Pampapon, the Johnstone Papillon,
the Pompalous.
Really revolves around his level of success and his sustained success.
Yeah.
And Drake could put out, he has put out just straight up not good albums. And
I remember having this conversation with you. It was when I was in college.
Yeah.
And it was when Drake, I think it was just before he came out with like the run of mixtapes that would make him who we know him as.
Yeah.
And he was on the front cover of this bootleg looking ass mixtape wearing like a turtleneck. I was like, who is this?
Yeah.
Why are people excited about this Canadian?
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it was Drake.
Yeah.
And within 5 years, the biggest hip hop artist currently creating music.
Yeah.
Like it was insane. His come up was incredible to witness. Yeah.
Even at the time, like a rapper being named as Drake.
Like, yeah. What?
I never really made fun of him for being like a child star on like fucking what was that show called? Degrassi. I didn't care about that kind of stuff because like who cares? Like whatever. The wheelchair Jimmy stuff and like the
sure.
It's like
sure. Yeah.
He really blew expectations out of the water.
Yeah.
In a way that like you can't really even wrap your head around unless you were there.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're talking about. Going on Dat Piff and seeing his...
That's exactly it, yeah.
Yeah, seeing his album covers and his mixtape covers and being like, who the fuck is this guy? To now him being...
Look, that
one
was
of
the
the
one.
most... Yeah, comeback season.
Comeback season.
Yeah.
He looked like a dork.
Yeah, you're like... That looks like an R&B album cover.
It does.
And I'm like, I'm supposed to be intimidated by this guy?
He doesn't even look like Drake.
No.
I don't know how he changed, but he did.
And when you...
Vic Mensa.
When you... what did Vic Mensa say?
He just did his own cover of it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
When you can have this kind of beginning and then now the kind of level of success that he has currently, you really can't downplay it. And when people try to, he's talented. He makes good music.
Of course he is, yeah.
When people use him as the example of a pop artist who is not as good or doesn't deserve the same respect as these other guys. Listen, I'm not a fucking Drake apologist. I've said it multiple times. He's put out bad albums, straight up bad.
And I'll agree with you too, to nobody's surprise. We hear you, okay? We're friends. We have similar opinions on stuff. I'm sorry.
That's a nobody's surprise.
Yeah, but I think his last run for the past like 3 years, lackluster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think he's talented enough that like around the corner we could get another Scorpion.
Of course.
Nothing Was the Same,
Yeah. Just to get it out there, my personal favorite Drake incarnation and album is If You're Reading This. I love
it's just so good.
I love it. It's aggressive. It's also not out of his wheelhouse. There are some pop songs in there too, but it's a great album.
Mm-hmm. It's him at his most, freewheeling Bob Dylan, just doing whatever he wants. It's
great flow.
Yeah, there seems to be no like pressure on him as an artist to, say a certain thing or to there's no like big single on there that like, oh, look at me, I'm trying to sell this album, here's the big song on there. No big lead single. It's just like, it's a cohesive project. It's a really good album. It's tight
like a toy guy.
Tight like a toy guy.
Yeah. Any hooser. We will see. We may talk about it if there is actually a response within the next week. But I don't trust Joe Budden, so I think he may have just been talking shit.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
For the clicks. Well, that being said, we should transition into a little segment we'd like to call Trail the Trash.
Trailer Trash.
For
the clicks, if you will.
For the clicks.
For the clicks.
For the click.
For the click. For the click.
For the click.
Wow.
Too sweet.
Two highly anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
Highly. Ooh. Movies that are coming out in the next couple of months.
Sure.
Let's talk about MaXXXine first. Yeah.
Let's do it. 3 X's.
3 X's.
MaXXXine.
It's the third in the Ty West. T West? Ty West.
Ty
West.
Ti
West.
TIP.
TIP West.
Yeah.
Ty West trilogy of the Mia Goth trilogy, really.
Sure. Well, I just realized it's X3 technically. Yeah. So Triple X.
There you go.
Triple X.
So Vin Diesel's gonna be in it.
Yeah. Hey Mia.
I'm gonna do it for my country.
He's already had a sister called Mia.
That's right.
In Fast and Furious.
Be in it.
Yeah, it's a crossover event.
So you got Pearl and
X.
The one X.
Just one X, yeah.
And now you got MaXXXine. Ty West has put out 2 of like the best horror thriller movies that in my opinion, in the past like 5 to 10 years.
Oh yeah.
He
not to mention The House of the Devil, which is also incredible. If you haven't seen that,
I have not seen that.
That's a pre-X Ty West joint.
All right,
you should check it out. Yeah, 2009. So
X,
a little whiles back.
X was great.
Yeah.
Pearl, one of my favorite horror movies ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like the genre bending stuff.
It's so good.
The whimsy married with the
horror.
Just horrific things that are happening and talked about and Mia Goth putting on 2 stellar star-making performances.
Unbelievable.
I can't sing enough praises for X and Pearl.
Yeah.
And Ty West as a writer director.
Sure.
So I'm very, very excited about MaXXXine. So let's talk about, what do you think? Ty West?
I mean, I'm right there with you. I think Ty West is one of those guys that is a current day hero of genre filmmaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from everything I've seen of his, I haven't seen the Innkeepers yet, which is another one that he's done. But literally every other film that he's made that I've seen has been just like knockout, fantastic.
Yeah.
He's a really good eye for like getting the vintage right of a film, because most of his movies aren't set current day.
Yeah.
But it's never like kitschy. It never feels fake. It never feels like put on.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like he has a good eye for actors.
Yeah.
Which is one of the best things a director can do. Because even with like the best writing, if your actors aren't right, even if they're good actors, if they don't fit like in that time period for that you're trying to get, and they're not on board with what the story you're telling, it's not going to work. He is so far like he's made a killer's row of no pun intended, of actors that I would love to see him continue to work with in a way that like Scorsese has, like, or Tarantino, like making this like family of actors that can continue to work with him because it just seems like together they just make this thing, this special thing every time.
Well,
so far,
yeah. To your point, I mean, I didn't really expect a lot out of Kid Cudi. All due respect,
yeah,
and he's so
he's
good.
great.
In X.
He's great.
He's
yeah.
amazing.
I haven't seen him act better.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know if it's the subject matter, if it was Ty West like bringing that out of him, but
Yeah.
So it's a good point. I didn't really think about that.
Well, I think one of the biggest things that specifically a horror director can do is bring out the humanity in all of his characters or her characters, and that's what X does. That's what Pearl does, and from what we've seen on this trailer, I think that's what's going to happen with MaXXXine.
Yeah. So tell me about it. How you feel about it?
I'm excited. I've been chomping at the bit for this MaXXXine trailer because it's been known for a long time that this was planned as a trilogy, the X trilogy, and so we've known about it for a while, but with very little information coming out about it.
Just basically the setting. Excuse me, the setting. That was
Right,
it.
right. The fact that it was set in the 80s, and obviously Mia Goth is going to be in it, continuing her character from X. But, well, I mean, other than the fact that Mia Goth got in trouble for like kicking someone or something, right?
Yeah, and I mean
wasn't that the thing that came and went?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I mean, we should talk about that probably a little bit. If more information comes out that she's like a really shitty person and like mistreats people, and like that's obviously not something that we're trying to promote or say that we agree with or anything like that. I mean. Well, you go ahead.
Okay, so according to Rolling Stone, a background actor who worked on the film MaXXXine sued Mia Goth, claiming that Goth intentionally kicked him in the head while filming a scene last April, according to a filing obtained by Rolling Stone. Film distributor A24 and the movie's director Ty West were also named as defendants.
Actors most of the time suck as people. So
Sure. They're usually missing something, and that's why they need to act.
Exactly. So this very well could be true.
No offense.
It very well also could not be true, though.
Sure.
And it very well could be a
Could be sour
situation
grapes.
misconstrued. Yeah, it could be anything. So we're not going to comment, I think, on that yet.
No, I don't think anything's come of this lawsuit yet. So
Yeah. So right now we're gonna sing Mia Goth's praises, and then if we're wrong later.
hey, look. Regardless, she's a good actor.
Yeah.
You can't take that away from her.
Yeah.
She's a good actor. R. Kelly's a good singer.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Oh my God.
Can't take that away from him.
You're right.
He's a monster.
I agree.
But
I agree.
he's a good singer.
I agree.
Yeah.
You can't take that away from him.
I didn't say it.
He's right. You're right. He's right.
He's right.
He's right.
He's right. When
He's
I'm right,
out of line, but he's right.
When I'm right, I'm right.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, she's incredible.
Regardless,
And
yeah, she's a great actor.
Yeah. You can't take that away. And maybe she got to kick people in the head to be that good. Maybe that background actor was in the way and needed to get the fuck out of the way.
Look, at least it was a background actor.
Just a background actor.
No one would know.
Not a real person.
Sure, yeah.
Just a background actor.
Not a real actor.
Yeah,
a background actor.
just a background actor. They probably got paid $100 a day. They just wanted to be there.
Yeah.
They probably got too close, and Mia Goth kicked him in the fucking head and was like, "Know your place."
But she goes, "Know your place.
Know your place.
Know your place."
Know your place.
Yeah. So
She seems strange in real
maybe
life.
yeah, she does.
She seems strange in real
She
life.
seems like a person who would kick people in the head for no reason.
It's true. And
You
like
know?
it.
And like it.
Like lick her teeth.
Right. And then like look around like, you guys see that? You see what I did to him?
And I'll do it again.
I'll do it again.
I'm MaXXXine
Yeah.
fucking Minx.
Yeah, so yeah. She, like you said, most of them need to be missing something to be as talented as they
Sure,
are.
yeah. I think that's true of most artists. I don't mean to put that on just actors. I think that's true of most.
Yeah, I think we're both
Most-
missing something.
Yeah. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we're doing this.
as far as the trailer itself goes, I am excited.
Yeah.
I am very, very excited. A complete not trash for me. I think the fact that let me get this Murderers Row off the casting list here. Mia Goth, Elizabeth Debicki, Moses Sumney, Michelle Monaghan, Bobby Cannavale, Lily Collins, Halsey, Giancarlo Esposito, and Kevin freaking Bacon. I mean, are you joking? Yeah. What more could you want?
And hey, listen.
And a fictionalized version of Richard Ramirez will show up.
Come on.
The Night Stalker.
The Night Stalker. Yeah, so maybe
he's got bad teeth.
Brush up on your Night Stalker lore before you watch
American Horror Story.
I had no idea that it was going to be based around that. That's really I like that.
What I find interesting is that it's obviously set in L.A. in the 80s, which makes sense for the Night Stalker, obviously. But I thought it was really, really meta and cool that in this trailer we see her at Universal Studios.
Yeah.
And we see the Psycho House.
Yeah.
And
you
see Pearl in the window of the house for a second. It's like, oh, it's all so tied in. Oh, it makes perfect sense. Her life was like this movie, and like we're seeing her trying to deal with the trauma while also being in a city that's under siege by this psycho killer.
Right.
Kiss see.
I have to pee.
Okay. That's good.
Really badly. So I don't know if I'd be able to keep going. I can either cut this out.
Go ahead.
Or
I'll vamp.
Okay.
I'll vamp. I can talk about Ty West and A24 films as long as you need me to. As long as you need me to. While Marco pees. I think I wasn't expecting it to tie in real world events in the way that it is. So I do find that interesting. I think it's a little dicey to include an actual serial killer in the plot of this horror movie. So I do think they need to tread a little lightly on that aspect of it, because obviously there are definitely people still around that, their friends or brothers, sisters, whatever, were murdered by Richard Ramirez. But, barring that, I think it is interesting in a way that I'm curious to see how it is dealt with, because I think Quentin Tarantino, speaking of him before, kind of showed a way of doing it a classy, if I can call Quentin Tarantino classy, in a classier way, which is like paying respect to the victims of this, serial killer, or, in Tarantino's movie, like this cult, by absolutely clowning on them. So I think it would be awesome to see like Richard Ramirez taken down a peg by MaXXXine, and maybe even doing like a revisionist history kind of thing where like MaXXXine maybe takes out Richard Ramirez at the end of it. I think that'd be pretty cool. But otherwise, I think the vibes I'm getting from this trailer are that like it's empowering. It is MaXXXine like continuing to be a badass, and kind of just like turning into the, hopefully, if there isn't some twist where she becomes like a villain within the story itself, kind of continuing to be this powerful figure. I was just explaining how I think it's risky to include a real life serial killer in the story.
Very risky.
But I think that Tarantino kind of showed a way of doing that in a, dare I say, classy way, which pays respects to the victims by taking down the real life serial killer a peg.
Yeah.
And
that'd be cool if this was like a reimagining.
Exactly. That's what I was saying, like a revisionist history of the Richard Ramirez Night Stalker murders, and like if MaXXXine can like murder Richard Ramirez before he can continue his killing spree, like how awesome would that be?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just something like that I think would be interesting to do, and I think a way to do it in a somewhat respectful way.
Yeah.
Because obviously like 80s weren't that long ago. So there's still people around definitely that were affected by those murders.
Yeah. Probably people still alive.
Absolutely. No
not
question.
Even not even like a generation away.
No,
but just like people who are like, yeah, I remember that. I was there for that.
Sure. Yeah. Survivors of Richard Ramirez.
Yeah. Yeah, I would highly recommend watching that documentary on Netflix about it. Because I didn't know. I had no idea. I knew, just like everybody knows about like famous serial killers, but sometimes you don't like. It's not like I don't listen to
podcasts. And
stuff? like those murder podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I'm not. I mean, I'm interested. Like anybody's morbidly interested
Those have kind of come out of favor over the years.
Yeah, I mean,
people have started to realize it's a bit morbid.
It's gross.
It's disrespectful, or it can be at least.
It sucks for the people who have based their entire careers around that kind of shit.
Yeah. Well, they've had to, they've kind of had to refigure how to do it in a more respectful way. Well,
I mean, the thing is, if your brand is based around, let's find this thing from the 70s or the 80s, and let's basically let how horrific this is do the talking, and then we'll just kind of like give our 2 cents.
Just riff on it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Or even joke. Joke around it. It's like, it's a little dirty.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that. That feels. I mean,
nasty.
I mean, from the jump, like I don't know how that whole thing wasn't seen as like kind of dirt. Even when I watch those kind of documentaries now,
can be super exploitive.
Yeah, you watch it with an eye of like, how much of this is educational and informative, and how much of this is sensationalized.
Sure.
Like, you watch documentaries now that don't have the tagline of a murder or a rape or anything like sensational in it, and you watch how they have to.
We're definitely getting demonetized now, by the way.
I mean, I'll edit it out. Yeah, that's so stupid. I'm so sick of shit like that.
I know. I know, Bubba. It's okay. Please continue. I'm sorry.
But when they don't have the tag of something like that, you watch how a documentarian has to work around that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they have to get really creative with trying to fill out an hour and a half worth of content when they know that we don't have the tagline, we don't have the news articles to really string this thing together.
True.
So you see these like documentaries about super famous murderers like John Wayne Gacy or whatever, and you can just basically retell what he did for an hour and a half.
Oh yeah.
And that would be enough.
Yeah.
So
he's done enough murders.
So
did you know he was a clown?
To get back to the clown stuff didn't really play that much. I was really surprised when I finally watched a documentary about John Wayne Gacy. Like the clown stuff. I mean, yeah, he was a clown, but like
that was like his day job.
Yeah, I always thought that like
he never crossed streams.
Yeah, I always thought that the clown thing was like he was a murdering clown.
No, that's what everyone gets wrong about that story.
Yeah,
he was a clown, and he did that for money, but he, as far as murdering people, was just a guy.
He's just murdering people. He's just a dude. Just dude picking up other guys and murdering them. Just dudes being guys. Just dudes murdering guys.
Yeah.
That's it. But the clown thing just didn't play, and I was so surprised. I was like, surely at some point the clown thing is gonna come into this.
It doesn't. It never does.
It never does.
Yeah.
So anyway, the MaXXXine trailer. The Richard Ramirez stuff is really interesting to throw into it. And I'm really, really excited to see what Ty West does with that, because, like you said, it's very risky. He didn't have to do that.
No.
The idea of MaXXXine being a famous porn star turned actress in the 80s, and then her past coming to bite her, that was enough.
Yeah,
that is enough for the movie. I'm interested already. Then to throw the Night Stalker stuff in there, plus the PI, plus her past coming to bite her, all that stuff thrown into the movie.
It's a lot.
I'm like, okay, sick.
It's a lot.
So not trash.
Not trash as well. I love the cast they've put together for this too.
Yeah. Bobby Cannavale.
Oh, Bobby Cannavale.
Give
the Kevin Bacon.
Oh man, come on.
You mean Kevin Guanciale?
Kevin Bacon doing another ensemble movie where now it's like, how can you ever lose 6 degrees of Kevin? If you lose 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, At this point, I don't even know what to. I'm not gonna look. I got real harsh words for people who lose.
I have
6 degrees of Kevin
I've got
Bacon.
the sneaking suspicion that his agent is his main goal is not to make Kevin Bacon as much money as possible. It's just to make that game easier.
Yeah.
From like the Christmas special for Guardians.
Yeah.
to this,
Yeah.
it's like he's
He's
miss.
just messing with people now.
Yeah,
you
stop
really cannot lose that game. The only way to make that game more challenging is like now what we do with it is like pick really far away,
obscure.
Yeah, you can't use Kevin Bacon anymore because you can't lose. You can't lose.
Yeah, agreed.
You could probably connect him to the dog that plays Air Bud.
I'm sure you
I
could.
bet.
I'm sure you
I
could.
bet.
That'd be a fun game. 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon with an animal actor.
Yeah.
You have to start with an animal actor and work your way.
And then get him there.
Yeah.
I bet you could get there.
Animal style.
All right, so we sang the praises of MaXXXine and Ty West,
Yeah.
and Mia Goth, and
As we
so on
should.
and so forth. Now we have one more trailer to talk about, and this one's going to be a little bit more controversial, I think.
Joker.
A little bit more controversial. The Joker trailer, Folie, Deux,
Folie.
has finally premiered. And the rumors and all of the stories about the movie are true. It appears to be a musical.
Yeah.
When they first announced that was something that was very controversial in and of itself, and
Sure,
interesting to read about, like that the sequel is going to be a musical featuring Lady Gaga.
I mean, if you're going to make a musical, you could pick worse people to be in it than Lady Gaga. Yeah.
I like some of the Gaga songs.
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck does she know about cameras? That's honestly, dude.
I thought you were being genuine. I'm like, yeah, Lady Gaga has some good songs.
That's one of my favorite quotes of all time. You know, Kanye, as a person, I don't know. But that
was a good one.
it's one of the greatest things he's ever said.
Yeah.
The fuck does she know about cameras?
I mean, yeah, it makes that is a perfectly sane question to ask.
yeah. And we don't hear anything about her being the creative director of Polaroid anymore.
It's true, yeah.
But she is in this movie.
She is.
So let's talk about the trailer. Folie Deux.
Folie Deux.
What'd you think?
I mean, it's pretty to look at. I didn't really have many doubts it would be after Todd Phillips' first Joker. I thought the best things going for it, the best things going for it were Joaquin Phoenix, obviously.
Yeah. Getting Joaquin to believe in that script.
I mean,
was
incredible.
huge.
Incredible. Because without him, I don't think this would work.
Oh, any other actor fails. Pretty much any other actor. I shouldn't say any other actor. Pretty much any other actor fails.
Most
in that
other
role.
actors failed. And I think this role was made for Joaquin.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wasn't a big fan of the first Joker. I thought it was all right.
Yeah.
It's probably a solid 3 out of 6 bottle caps for me. I thought it was overhyped. I thought it was well shot. I thought Joaquin was incredible in the role, but I thought beyond that, like, it was very shallow. It was very ham-fisted. I thought it was really predictable. I thought it was just, I mean, like, overly referential, I'll say, to better films, such as Taxi Driver. So going into this trailer, I was I don't know. I kind of have low expectations, and I don't think it's changed that opinion.
Yeah.
I think what I see is interesting. I'm curious. This trailer did make me more curious about the movie. It still looks like it's shot really well. I think the DP work on it looks incredible. There's really good shot composition. I think it looks pretty. I'm just afraid of it being ham-fisted again, and not like of it being so on the nose that it becomes intolerable.
Yeah.
You know, that's my main fear about this. It's like there's no depth to it, which I think with a character like the Joker, there is so much depth that you can play with, and I just don't want to be disappointed. So I'm going to go into it with skepticism. For me, the trailer is a not trash because I think it does make me that much more interested to see if Todd Phillips can pull this one off.
Yeah.
And, I'm always there for Joaquin.
Yeah.
I think he's great in this role. I just want there to be more to chew on as far as the characters go, as far as the storyline goes. And, I respect the fact that it's going to be a musical. I think swinging for the fences like that is interesting. So we'll see. I don't have much trust in Todd Phillips. So that's the one major, hanging Chad, if you will.
The thing about Todd Phillips is I personally don't hate him as much as other film bros hate him. I do think that
I'm sitting right here.
I do think that, and I'm not saying a controversial thing here. The Hangover is a great movie.
It is.
I do think that I do like Due Date. I really had this opinion. I like that movie, and then I go on the internet and see how much people don't like it, and I'm like, I thought it was really funny.
Due Date was good.
I
Yeah,
thought it was
Due
a good
Date was
movie.
good.
I don't have any problems with Due Date. I think, and maybe it's not even Todd Phillips. Maybe it's the fact that Robert Downey Jr., Zach Galifianakis, and Jamie Foxx are so good in it that
Sure.
it kind of
It's hard to make a bad movie with those people.
I mean, Robert Downey Jr., people talk about he's been stuck as Tony Stark for the past 12 years, right?
Yeah.
But before
until Oppenheimer.
Yeah. And people talked about his genius as an actor for years. And I
Yeah.
used to read about how good he was even before I had delved into his filmography.
Sure.
And all the time people would talk about how good Robert Downey Jr.
Oh
is.
yeah. Everyone brings up Chaplin.
Chaplin is
Yeah.
great, but I mean, even Less Than Zero and his stuff
Sure.
on Ally McBeal and
Yes,
he just
yes.
is so good.
Yeah.
He's just one of those guys that if not for that stuff in the middle that he doesn't like to talk about,
Yeah.
he probably would have already won an Oscar.
Well, that's the
Maybe two.
honestly the best thing you can say about his story is that he was able to turn it around.
Yeah.
Most people don't,
Yeah.
especially of his generation. That sort of Brat Pack group.
Right.
I don't think he was part of the group, but the '80s.
He was
kids,
right there with it though.
Yeah, with a famous
I
dad.
think he was in the Brat Pack.
Was he? Yeah.
For a little bit before
Yeah.
he went off the rails. I think he was Brat Pack. At
Okay.
least Brat Pack adjacent.
Sure. Yeah. In that era, at very least.
Yeah.
For
he's
sure.
in a John. Isn't Less Than Zero John?
Could
he's
be.
in a John Hughes
Could
movie.
be.
Less Than Zero could be. I don't know.
Fine.
Yeah,
I'll
look,
Google it.
Gotta look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Less Than Zero. The 1987 film. Nope. Directed by Marek Kenievska.
Okay, sure.
But yes, I agree. Same era. Same
Yeah,
era.
yeah.
If he wasn't part of it, he was at least adjacent to it.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys and gals did not get out of that unscathed.
Right.
And so, I think it's great that we're able to see him have this resurgence and get the roles that he deserves.
Mm-hmm. Oops.
What happened? What happened?
Wow.
Yeah,
and fulfill the promise that
he had
Yeah.
from back then.
definitely, and he has. Anytime he's in something, he shows you why he's considered this master of his art.
Yeah.
And so when you watch Due Date, for instance, you're like, is it Todd Phillips or is it the genius of Robert Downey Jr.?
Well, 'cause
he's so good.
He could have very easily become like a River Phoenix,
Yeah.
He could have gone out that way.
He could have.
And somehow he made it out the other side.
Yeah.
And then kept the passion for Hollywood and filmmaking, and came out with as Tony Stark, and is now, I feel like, if we're going to reference another podcast, which I won't name, I would say this maybe is Apex Mountain.
Yeah.
Right after,
Yeah.
Obviously, he had those stumbles right after leaving the Marvel Universe with like Dr. Dolittle and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those are money grabs, and now he's like, I'm back as like the guy who wants to make
Tony Stark
real ass movies
post Oscar.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
he literally can do whatever he wants. If that's not Apex Mountain, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and he had his own documentary about his dad that was really well received.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy has his shit together and has the ability to do whatever he wants at this point.
Yeah.
I feel.
So all that to say is, is Todd Phillips a really good director, or does he cast really good actors?
Well, look, let me give you his filmography for director, okay? Road Trip. Good comedic movie.
Yeah.
Old School.
Let me stop for a second with Old School, because if that's not a better comedic cast, I don't know what is. Literally every single person in that movie is hilarious. And
Unbelievable.
I could have directed that movie.
Yeah.
Because the talent.
You just throw them in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
go.
okay.
Starsky and Hutch. I actually really like that movie.
Another one that's
Yeah.
like some people don't like, but it's like, dude, look at that cast.
Yeah.
Look at that cast.
Incredible. School for Scoundrels.
I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
I don't think I did either. The Hangover, obviously.
Yeah.
Due Date.
Yeah.
Hangover 2.
Yeah.
Hangover 3.
And he just wouldn't let it go.
War Dogs, which nobody talks about.
Yeah. I didn't even realize he directed that.
Yeah. And then Joker.
But again, look at the cast. War Dogs is Miles Teller and Jonah Hill.
Yeah. Before the controversy.
Exactly. Two tremendous actors.
Yeah.
And then Joker.
And then Joker. Yeah. So he has.
Is he the best? Does he have the best casting director of all time?
Maybe.
And then they just
could be.
Can you imagine? I mean, like they just put these tools in front of you, and they're like, you don't even have to do anything, dude.
Yeah,
just let these guys work.
Let him roll.
I'll give him this. He was either on the writing board or wrote all of these movies. So whenever he's credited as a producer, writer, director.
Director, writer, yeah.
So I'll give him the credit as a writer. You can't take that away
He's
from
like a
him.
multi-instrumentalist
of
filmmaking.
Yeah. So you can't take that away from him. The writing credits on those movies.
Yeah.
Even if you let most of these actors improvise, he had to alley-oop. You know what I'm saying? Don't take away Jason Kidd's assists just because Vince Carter dunked him.
No,
you know what I mean?
absolutely not.
Like, you got to give him that.
Yeah.
You got to give him that. So I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Now to this trailer. Okay, let's bring it all.
Okay,
let's bring it
back home.
down. Let's bring it all.
Bring it back home.
Folie Deux. If he's going for the first Joker movie, he was obviously and very clearly and very honestly ripping off Taxi Driver and the Comedian, right?
Yeah.
If he does this thing where Folie Deux is like,
Was the Comedian? What's the name of that movie?
yeah, maybe it's not the Comedian.
No,
It's the
no.
Robert Downey. It's the Robert De Niro movie. It's probably not called The Comedian. It's called the stand-up guy.
The stand-up guy. The Comedian's a 2016 film by Robert De Niro.
Okay, that is not what we're talking about. Because look at his face in that. He's doing the De Niro face in the fucking thing. Not that movie.
No. The King of Comedy,
The
right?
King of Comedy. That's
I
what
knew
it
it without
is.
Google.
The King of
I
Comedy.
knew without Google.
Yeah, you didn't Google it. You didn't
You didn't hear the clacking of the keys.
Nah, the King of Comedy.
The King of Comedy,
Thank you, because
yes.
people would have been like, I got the movie. What?
The Comedian.
The King of Comedy and Taxi Driver. Very clearly, he took inspiration from those movies.
Yes.
Some would say he ripped them off.
There he is. King of Comedy. A Scorsese film.
If he goes into this going, all right, now we're going to rip off a bunch of musicals. I'll just say this, okay? I very recently watched Singing in the Rain.
Oh, it's one of the best. Are you kidding me?
It's so good.
It's like starting with Illmatic.
I couldn't believe how good that movie was.
Oh, my God.
And that I had never seen it before.
You never seen Singing in the Rain?
I never watched it. I always...
What inspired you to watch it?
Nothing.
You're just like, it feels like a good time.
I was scrolling through Max,
Oh
and they
my
have the Turner
God.
Classic Movies thing, and it was on there, and I was like, you know what? I've never seen Singing in the Rain. I have time. I'm not
so
doing
good.
anything.
So good.
I just turned it on, and I was mesmerized.
Oh, my God.
It's
Princess Leia's mom was awesome.
so good. Gene Kelly's incredible.
Gene Kelly
guy,
is so good.
The other guy?
The other guy is incredible, too. His fucking backflips, are you kidding me?
So good.
Oh, my. That's
So good.
that
And
solo. Oh, my God.
I just had no idea how much that movie had been ripped from. You know what I mean? Like every piece of pop culture from that point forward took a piece from it. Whether it was the musical numbers, the jokes that were made, everything. They just. There's nothing left.
The sitcom dynamic of guy gal, definitely gonna hook up, and friend, funny friend, is just it's a tale as old as time,
and they play with it too, and they play very obviously with it. It's just, listen, we could do a whole one reel in on Singing in the Rain, because I have thoughts and opinions.
It's genuinely one of my favorite movies of all time.
I loved it. I loved it.
So good.
I say that to say, if Todd Phillips is going to take inspiration from like Guys and Dolls and like Singing in the Rain and stuff like that, I'm on board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, you've already kind of showed your hand that you're just going to rip these movies off. And
rip off the best, baby.
Exactly. Why not?
Yeah. And you got Joaquin there. You got Lady Gaga.
Exactly.
Go crazy.
Go crazy.
Yeah.
So we've made our opinion known about the OG Joker movie before.
Sure.
Basically, what you just said, I agree wholeheartedly with. Surprising no one. That Joaquin he put on an incredible performance, but everything else was pretty much lackluster. If he does that again with this movie, and it's just a musical, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Sure.
Fuck it. Yeah. So, not trash. I'm interested.
Agreed.
The trailer was not a bad trailer. It made me interested. It made me go, all right, it looks like it could be something. Fuck it. Let's see what you got, Todd. Let's see what you got.
I at very least admire and respect his cojones to go with a musical format.
His
cojones, if you will.
Yeah. I
respect it. I think it's,
Yeah, I think
I give him some a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
Because he's willing to swing for the fences in that way.
That's a big swing.
Yeah.
Because even talking about Singing in the Rain, for instance, that movie was written and directed by Gene Kelly, a music guy. Like, of course that movie was going to be good. Gene Kelly's supremely talented.
One of the most talented actors of all time.
So for him, he's like, I'm going to make...
I can do it.
Well, but the thing is, like, watching it, I kind of just really want to talk about Singing in the Rain.
Look, I'm going to give you 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'm going to go pee.
Okay.
You talk Singing in the Rain.
Okay, thank you. Oh, man, I have been really needing to get this off my chest since I watched it. Gene Kelly.
Morning.
Good morning. It's great to stay up late. It's so, Gene Kelly, you read all this stuff about his talent and about the Hollywood nature of I shouldn't say the Hollywood nature, but the nature of Hollywood in that time period. And you see people talk about like movies like La La Land and stuff, and The Artist, where the Oscars, for instance, really rewards movies about movies. And I had no idea that Singing in the Rain was a movie about movies. I'm really, really ignorant when it comes to that lane. I came into it knowing nothing about it other than obviously Singing in the Rain, knowing that Gene Kelly could dance his ass off. And that was pretty much it. So I'm going into this movie blind. I'm going into this movie literally like somebody from the 40s watching this movie. And 40s, I actually don't remember. I don't know when the movie came out. But going into it, watching it as if it had premiered, because I didn't know anything about it. And it's just... Gene Kelly knows exactly what story he's trying to tell. There are these moments where they just go, all right, for the next 5 minutes, we're just going to show how talented we are at tap and dance and singing. And it's I really can't... It's so good even today. I watched it and I was enthralled by it in a way that... And I hate this opinion, but I share it, which is that they don't make movies like this anymore. They don't... The pure joy that is coming off of the screen that Gene Kelly brings to this and everybody else involved, it's really hard for me you watch movies nowadays, and there's this. Well, we talked about this on the podcast too. There's this level of cynicism that permeates movies nowadays. That it's like everything has to be a bit, everything has to be a wink at the audience. And movies from that era didn't do that. They
were sincere.
moved. They were sincere.
Yeah.
They moved in and out of these emotions so sincerely that you had no choice but to feel those emotions with the movie. And you don't get that anymore. We're too hung up on being smarter than the audience. Where in a movie,
and cynical.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I was saying before you came out of the bathroom. Was the cynicism of today's Hollywood is really hard to deal with now, especially when you watch a movie like Singing in the Rain and like the joy that comes off of the screen. Even Gene Kelly's character is an actor who is looking at, or who thinks he's looking at the twilight of his career. He thinks it's over.
Well, it's in the storyline, not to spoil anything for a 50-year-old movie.
Singing in the Rain.
It's in the transition, which is very real. I learned about this in film class. The transition between the silent film era and the talkies.
Right.
And all this really happened.
Which, again, I had no idea what the movie was about. That's kind of what I was talking about when you were in the bathroom. Was like, I didn't know what the movie was about. I went to it really blind. I just thought it was a musical.
Unbelievable. You went into Singing in the Rain blind.
Can you imagine that? I've seen so many movies. I've seen a lot of musicals. I've seen so much movies. And I had no idea what Singing in the Rain was about.
We missed that one in keyboarding class.
Yeah.
It's one that Schalt didn't show us.
We were out smoking doobies.
Yeah, smoking the dudes.
Smoking the dudes.
Smoking the dupes.
Some Scooby snacks.
Some Scooby snacks.
But yeah, so when I went into it and finding out that like that's the plot of the movie, first of all, it made it really interesting. Yeah. Because I was like, I thought it was just going to be like a love story. And it is a love story. It's a beautiful love story. But it's also something really... really real, not just like that it actually happened, but the idea of technology advancing past the point of what you believe is your talent and your worth, and trying to find your worth outside of the thing that you thought defined you as a person. It's a really beautiful movie. Well, and it's so good,
and that shows it's truly like a timeless story, because that tale can be told for all time.
Exactly. You can just update that story to what's
AI.
Happening right now. Yeah, you really can.
Talk about AI
like
instead.
Really just finding yourself in the fact that like the thing that you thought was the thing that you were going to do for the next 40 years is gone. And now you have to adapt. You adapt or die.
You evolve.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful movie.
I love it.
And if Todd Phillips can do even a fraction.
If there's one modern day Gene Kelly, I'd say it's Todd Phillips.
It's Todd Phillips, baby.
Yeah.
Who is the modern day Gene? Nobody.
There's nobody.
No one does that. And you know what? Who was it? I think it was Tom Cruise. I don't remember if he was telling Miles Teller or another actor. You know what story I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
He told another actor, and I think it was Miles Teller, that you need to learn how to dance. You need to learn all these old Hollywood things
it's the
if you want to be.
Yeah.
And who can you? I mean, like I brought up La La Land while you were deposed.
Yes.
And even La La Land, a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
Harkens back to old Hollywood stuff, and Hollywood loves movies about Hollywood.
I was going to say that too, is that like Singing in the Rain is in a long tradition of incredible movies about movie making.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And La La Land's one of those.
La La Land, and it's a beautiful movie, but I can understand now when people watch that and go, he's no Gene Kelly though.
No, absolutely.
No Gene Kelly. And listen, this is coming from a podcast that loves some Ryan Gosling, baby.
You kidding me? You kidding me?
Yeah. So this is no hate on the Goss.
Yeah.
But he ain't no Gene Kelly.
No.
Man. He ain't no Gene Kelly. God damn, that motherfucker's handsome, bro. They do a fucking pull in on him.
Not only is he handsome, but he can move.
He can move.
He in modern day terms, he would be like an incredible martial artist.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Like
yes.
he has clearly, and the other guy, the friend.
We got to look up his name because he's so
good.
So
The dexterity they have for 1950s Hollywood.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, they're unstoppable. And this was the norm. This was like if you were going to make a good movie, this is what you had to do. You had to be able to sing, dance, and act. You had to be convincing in all three.
Donald O'Connor was his name.
Okay.
For Cosmo Brown.
So to again, not to quote another podcast because we don't do that here.
No.
But if we're talking about the Dion Waiters, it's Donald O'Connor. I mean, he was so hot in that movie. He was shooting lights out. Heat check the whole way through. You're like, oh, you like that dance number? Here's another one. Oh, you like that? He was playing piano. He's the funniest in the movie. Dare I say, really the MVP of the movie. I mean, Gene Kelly is the anchor of it, but without Donald O'Connor, you just don't have.
He's the spark.
He is. You know? He really is.
Keeps you invested.
He is what everybody else believes they are as the comedic relief.
Yeah.
That is like. Yeah. That's what you want. Is a guy that good. Mm-hmm. A guy who could have led the movie, but instead was like, I'll be in this supporting role.
Yeah.
Because even in the movie, he's support. Storyline wise, he's the guy behind the guy. That's the whole thing. That's the whole bit around his character is that he's not getting the credit he deserves. And then there's moments where the head of the studio is like, remind me to give you a raise. And he's like, hey, give me a raise. And you're like, that's so funny. And also really real that like Gene Kelly's character is so good at what he does, but he's the handsome leading man.
Sure.
And Cosmo is behind him, writing the music, writing the parts, coming up with the bits. He even comes up with the idea to have homegirl sing for the other girl.
Yeah.
That's his idea.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Like I said, I kind of want to do a fucking classical movies one reel in.
We should do a classic musical one reel in a-thon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be a good time. I didn't realize that Rita Moreno was Zelda Xander's.
I had no idea either.
Yeah, I didn't know that was her. But can I say ha sha sha sha? Yeah.
Sorry.
1952. 1952.
Okay, I was close. I said the 40s, but I was close. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to spend 15 to 20 minutes on.
They needed it.
How good. Singing in the rain.
Well, to transition to something that's more our speed, let's talk about something that's bad.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah, let's talk about negative stuff.
But in order to talk about this, I feel like we need to transition to one of our favorites, one of the I'd say the stalwarts of our craft beer consumption over the years. It's the Jai Alai by Cigar City. We're not going to review it because we have in ages past. Mm-hmm. But it's apropos of the fact that there's been some news out of Tampa.
Some unfortunate stuff.
Our neighbors to the south west west or the southwest. Unfortunately. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and read off the headline and subhead of Tampa Bay Times. 12 Cigar City employees laid off amid restructuring of Tampa brewery. Some portions of the production facility will transition to a research and development hub. This was published March 15th by Helen Frund. Several production employees, including a longtime brewmaster, have been laid off from Cigar City Brewing in Tampa. Let me interject here. Not just a longtime brewmaster, but like the brewmaster of Cigar City.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, 12 employees were let go, most of whom worked in production, according to an employee at the company. The layoffs were initiated by Cigar City's parent company, Monster Beverage Corp., which in 2022 purchased all brewery and seltzer companies operating as the Canarchy Craft Brewery Collective, including Cigar City, Colorado's Oscar Blues Brewery, Texas's Deep Ellum Brewing Co., Michigan's Perrin Brewing Co., and Utah's Squatters Brewery and Wasatch Brewery. The $330 million deal effectively gave the company, best known for its collection of energy drinks, a huge stake in the North American craft beer market. The shakeup comes on the heels of another high-profile layoff. In early February, longtime Cigar City brewmaster Wayne Wambles was let go after nearly 16 years with the company. That's the guy, again, interjecting here. That's the guy who, if you've ever been to Cigar City in Tampa and gone on a tour, that's usually the guy that was there. Yeah. So, you've probably seen him if you've been to the actual brewery. When reached by phone at his home in North Carolina, Wambles confirms hearing of the additional layoffs this week, and believes his termination was likely a precursor to more to come. Quote, "I was told that my position was eliminated," he said. "The role of Cigar City Brewmaster was eliminated, basically." End quote. Wednesday's layoffs were confirmed by Mikhail McKelvey, who currently works as the cellar manager at the Tampa facility. Emails and phone calls to Cigar City and Monster Beverage Co. were not immediately returned.
What?
So, yeah, I mean, long story short here, Cigar City, as we know and love it, has been gutted.
Yeah.
The production team, the head brewmaster of a decade plus is no longer there. So especially that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Because what are you supposed to do as a brewery if you don't have a head brewmaster that got you to the point where you're at right now?
Yeah.
You just going to keep making High
Yeah.
As much as I love High, like, is that it? Like, what are we doing? What's monster core thinking?
I mean,
with such a, it's a perfectly named company at this point.
Yeah.
Monster Core.
I think that if you are, I think that once a business becomes as successful as Monster and as the breweries that they purchased became,
yeah,
I think at that point, to mainstream or layman audiences, it doesn't really make a difference. I think that the fact that a lot of the Cigar City stuff, Oscar Blue stuff, and the other breweries I'm actually not that familiar with.
Sure,
they were already in grocery stores.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you continue to sell these brands as they are, people are going to... Craft beer is not in the creative boom that it was before.
Yeah, things have plateaued.
Yeah. So if you're in an industry now that has plateaued, no longer can you be successful by being the most creative,
innovative.
Yeah. Now you have to figure out, okay, what makes the most money? If you want to continue, if you want to keep this thing going,
it's this.
But this, to my point, can be whatever Monster wants it to be.
Sure. We're for listeners holding up High.
Right. High is a flagship brand for Cigar City and for Monster, right?
Essentially its own brand.
Yeah, because it's the same thing. It's close. It's akin to Voodoo Ranger.
Yeah.
Where this is the IPA thing from a brewery that you know and love.
Sure.
And this is its own thing set aside from the rest of the brewery.
A handful of variations on it.
If you can sell that brand to people who don't really know, because like this real story you're reading from the Tampa Bay Times.
Yeah.
The real story is Monster bought these companies and then gutted them and is now using their brand recognition to sell Monster, basically.
Yeah.
But that's not the thing that's going to get talked about. People are going to talk about like, oh, where does the industry go next? What happens to these beers? All of these intricate conversations. But the real conversation is like capitalism strikes again. This giant company bought these smaller companies with the hope that now these companies are going to have the funds to do the really cool shit that they always wanted to do.
Get those flavors nationwide.
Yeah. And instead, what has happened in the span of like 5 years is that Monster was like, the only way that we're going to make money with all this stuff is to kill this thing and and just use it as an R&D company, which no hate to the people at Oscar Blues or this Utah brewery or this other one that I'm not familiar with, or people at Cigar City. Y'all got y'all money, and that's great. I'm glad that whoever...
someone got their money.
Right. Whoever was able to cash out...
Wasn't Wayne,
because he seemed surprised as anybody
He
else.
was.
He was like, at home, somebody called him, and he was like, I'm what?
the head brewer. The head brewer
Yeah.
of like 16 years. Are you kidding me? Just to get a call and be like, hey, man, your services are no longer needed at
like,
Cigar City
Yeah,
Brewing.
we killed your whole job. Sorry. Yeah, that's
It's got to be.
So
you got to be gutted after that.
The people at these independent breweries, I hope that they made their money, and I hope that they could sleep at night. I'm not trying to
Guilt.
call them. Yeah, I'm not trying to guilt them, and I'm not trying to call them bad people. I don't know the ins and outs of these deals.
And a lot of times, this is spurned from the fact that a lot of these breweries were in trouble.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
Right.
And they needed an out. They needed a lifeline, and they made a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
And that's what happens 9 times out of 10. If you kind of excel a little too much, you get the attention of people like Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
And Monster. You know, and that's when they go, "Oh, you're popping a little bit.
Oh. I'll take that.
Could you make a little more money?"
Yeah, what if we made a little bit more money?
And they scoop you up, and within like a matter of 5 years, you're gone.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah. Well, you see, like, to bring up Anheuser-Busch, for instance, you see that they're selling a lot of their stakes off. A lot of the stuff that they bought a couple years before, jumping into this craft beer boom.
Yeah.
They're selling a lot of that stuff back, which pennies on the dollar.
Which is bad for everyone. Because then these people that were promised like this deal to get their beer everywhere and make money tenfold, now are working in regret because they sold off the rights, and now some guy is picking it up without
Some schmuck.
some investor that has no interest in actual innovation or creativity within the craft beer space, or maybe doesn't even have any knowledge about it. It picks it up and it's like, yeah, let's make let's put this in an airport. How about that?
Yeah.
Let's do that instead.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. I want to finish this article real quick.
Yeah.
because I think it adds a little bit of flavor to it. So McKelvey, who is again the current cellar manager at Cigar City, still is. McKelvey said the terminations were part of a larger move at the company to shut down the majority of Cigar City's mass production in Tampa. Excuse me. Instead, the production hub will transition to a space dedicated to innovation and research and development, he said. There will be no changes to the brewery's tap rooms, he said, and stressed that the Tampa facility will still brew beer. And the brand's beloved big names like Jai Alai and Florida Man aren't going anywhere. Obviously not.
Yeah.
As the production facility,
duh.
yeah, as the production facility undergoes the transition to a research and development hub, Cigar City beers will be produced at the Oscar Blues Brewery in Brevard, North Carolina, according to Brew Bound, a beer industry website. The layoffs shocked the local brewing community, many of whom have close ties to the iconic Tampa Bay brewery. Quote, I think the worst part of the deal is not just those who have lost their jobs, McKelvey said. It's the shattering of the community trust. There are still people that live in Tampa and work in Tampa and are very passionate about the beers that they produce. End quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. I agree completely.
That's really the story of this is it's not just not being able to trust a company like Monster, because why would you ever?
Their name's Monster, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
But it really goes down to that lower level of like the community who, I mean, it would be like the place that you go to every weekend selling their name rights, and then you come back and the beer tastes weird and you're like, this doesn't really taste like it used to. And it's like, oh yeah, that's because we sold to this billion-dollar corporation.
Yeah.
And now
it's made in North Carolina now, actually.
Exactly. And now it's brewed off-site and it's being shipped back to us, and that's what we're selling to you. It's like, well, I come here because
It's local.
this is a Florida. You guys are brewing the beer, and
Yeah.
like whatever facilities that you need to brew the beer, that's one thing. But to like brew it in another state and then have it shipped back to us because this corporation decided that it would be easier to do it in a bigger facility.
It's such a it in hindsight, it's such a foregone conclusion that that's exactly what would happen.
Absolutely.
You get big enough and they slap you down.
Yeah.
They buy you out and then they trim you out.
Yeah.
Like they remove everything that made you who you are.
Yeah.
It's so self-defeating, and
Yeah.
I don't really know, because it seems like this is the way of the industry at large.
Yeah.
And
It feels like a lot of them are going in this direction, and it's sad and scary and weird.
I mean, we
and
just saw it recently with the Miami-based brewery.
MIA, not MIA.
Not MIA Brewing, but they, I think, did something similar. The one with the... I brought beer from them.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Hold on. We'll get it. It's coming.
Oh,
It's coming. Beat culture? Not beat culture.
Not beat culture. Hold on. Everyone relax. It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
Why is it not? Come on, man. Okay, so they turned into just Vesa Sur, but they were. Oh my God, the art district in Miami, man. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I don't know. Art Basel.
Winwood Brewing.
Winwood. That's right.
God,
Winwood.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
We should have known that.
Yeah, it's your fault.
It's my fault.
Not
Winwood. Recently, they restructured to downsize from it being Winwood Brewing. There's still going to be technically Winwood Brewery beers that are coming out of Vesa Sur.
Now they just win.
Yeah, no wood, just win. More like lost wood, am I right? But yeah, I mean, you're seeing it. My point in saying that is that you're seeing it more often, and it's really, as obviously a fan of craft beer, it is distressing to try to guess where the industry goes next.
Yeah.
Because I mean, again, even more ultra locally, we've seen the inevitable closure of Deadwoods.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it is obvious to say, but the craft beer boom, I think, is gone.
Oh yeah,
it's
dead.
dead.
Over.
It's been over since COVID.
Yeah.
And now,
At least.
yeah, and now it's like there are too many organisms out here to survive.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a reckoning, and I have hope that the strongest will survive.
Yeah. Hope so.
But what is more troubling to me is that it seems like the ones that really deserve to thrive end up under the heel of an InBev.
Yeah.
Or a monster.
Yeah.
And if the only option is either, not making enough business and you go out of business, or making so much business that you get the attention of someone who's going to buy you out, it's like, where do you survive?
I think
Not only survive, but thrive.
I mean, it's hard to say because like you and I are ignorant to the apparatus of running a brewery. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I work in a brewery, and I don't really. I know what I know, and I know
That's
that
all
hard.
that I know.
I know that it's hard. I know that it's incredibly hard to run a brewery.
Any business in which you're serving people is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Especially after
mean,
COVID.
Being in the service industry, period, is difficult.
Yeah.
And the unique challenges that these places face is something that I think is lost on a lot of people. That you don't understand what some of these, especially like microbreweries and brew pubs, are facing to try to keep up with the industry. Even like the internal conversations that I have with people, you wouldn't believe the concerns that people have that you would think are things that like are easy things for them to accomplish.
No, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Lots of moving pieces.
in that respect, it's hard to say where the industry goes or what's the best way to go about being successful, because it's so fast moving and it's so like, what at this point, what do people want? It's really hard to try to understand trends in a way that like people want things until they don't want those things.
Well, and
you're
you need-
dealing with fickle human beings.
And you need to be a forecaster of what they want.
Yes, exactly.
Before they even know they want it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to be ahead of that.
Because if you're responding, especially in craft beer, it takes a while to brew something.
Yes.
So once a fad is gone,
Yeah.
and you're sitting there like an idiot holding this giant vat of beer that
Right.
nobody's interested in
You got the
anymore.
chocolate thing that everyone was
Yeah.
talking about.
That was
2 months
last
ago.
year. We
Yeah.
don't want that anymore.
Exactly.
It's very tough.
Yeah.
You have to be a mind reader. You have to be a fortune teller.
Or you have to dig your heels in the sand and you say, this is the kind
what
of
it
beer
is.
that we're making.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, go fuck yourself. But the people who do like it will come out
Sure.
and support this thing. And
Yeah.
that's the tough conversation about like, all right, are you digging your heels in the sand for a type of beer and an industry that's worth it? Are
Yeah.
people going to show up for you
Sure.
with the kind of food that you make and with the kind of beers that
If
you
you
make?
build it, will they come?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff now that I feel like on a very hyper local level is the real concern for a lot of breweries. Like
Sure.
that's the thing that they should be talking about and trying to figure out is like, in your community, are you selling to people that like what you're selling? Are they
Yeah.
going to buy what you're selling?
And do the people that would be interested in what you're selling know
yeah.
that you're selling it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's the even bigger thing is like, how do you tell people
It's-
that we have the thing that you like?
It's very complex.
It's very
complex.
it is. It's supremely complex.
Yeah.
And people don't really understand these kinds of conversations that go into shit like this. I mean, you from a marketing perspective, myself from a selling perspective of like, I have to tell people
We're two ends of the seller's upside down triangle. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
You can create a beautiful thing, but like you need you and you need me
Yeah.
to get it to people.
We both sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you get if it's very difficult to understand how to sell it.
Yeah.
It's how do you sell it to people?
I'll tell you, there have been times where in my industry alone, like I've wanted to find somebody that's like perfect example of the audience we're trying to speak to, and just find them and grab them by the shoulders.
Yeah.
Just be like, what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Oh, dude.
What do you want?
Yeah. There's
Tell me.
That's exactly it. That's
We've
exactly
got it. We just got to give it to you.
Yeah, yeah. How do we tell
Talk
you
to
that
me.
we have it?
Talk to me.
Do you like it?
Help.
This is what you want, right? So why don't you fucking show up for it?
Come here when I tell you to come here.
This is what you want, right? This is what you said you
This is
wanted.
what you want.
I decided this is not what I want anymore. Then what do you want? What do you want?
Get out of here. Go. Yeah, it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. I mean, any business is hard. It's all because it's inherently flawed because it's human.
Yeah.
And we're dealing with
It's
people.
inherently flawed because it's human.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful
Yeah.
and very melancholy and very true.
It's very Catholic.
And very Catholic.
Yeah.
It's inherently flawed because it's human.
Yeah. We are the only imperfect things in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Well, we can't talk much more about that anymore. I mean, we're going to see what happens with these breweries, what happens on a local level, what happens on a national level. Who knows? The one thing that I can tell you is, I mean, we talked about it a little bit. The packaging, even the packaging itself, it's like some of the stuff is starting to suffer, and it's like it's a capitalist thing.
I don't know if it's just me, but it already feels cheaper. Everything about it. There's like these God, it's so clearly like mass market. I don't mean to sound like a hipster, but it's so clearly mass marketed. Like you see,
It is what it is.
there's a big yellow spot, like an explosion sort of sign.
Yeah.
That shows the ABV.
Yeah.
Like they're like, hey, you can get fucked up on this.
Look at it.
Check
Look
it out.
at it. You get fucked up over there.
And they have like the Florida Man in like the tall boy cans.
Yep.
It's like, what are you doing, man?
Yep.
You're just trying to get somebody to die?
Yep.
Is
Pretty
that what
much.
it is?
Pretty fucking.
All right. Okay. That's what we're doing now. All right.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
I already miss the OG.
Yeah.
It says hecho a mano.
Hecho
That means
a mano.
made by hand. Yeah. And I just don't feel like that's really the ethos anymore. And it hurts to see because, yet again, Jai Alai was the first craft beer that really made a dent in my life.
Cigar City and Jai Alai in particular is the genesis of this podcast.
And the Maduro.
And the Madura, yes, yeah. Those beers, that's why this thing even
They're foundational.
exists.
Yeah, they're foundational. So
we were arrogant enough to believe that people cared about what we were talking about, and the beers were good enough to talk about.
Yeah.
And that was it. That's it.
We
That's
were
why
so
this exists.
we were so inspired by these beers that we were like, we need to spread the word.
Yeah. Yeah. So it
hurts. It's
for,
personal.
For this podcast in particular, for you and I, it does. It's very personal. It hurts to watch an institution as beautiful as Cigar City lose its identity.
Yeah. Agreed.
I don't know what happens going forward. We had to report on it because it was resting on the collective soul of the podcast.
It's true.
But right now, today,
Right now.
the only thing that we can do is lift you up before we let you go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the cheers of the week.
Yeah.
Obi, please tell the people what you're cheersing tonight.
Well, my cheers of the week goes to Vampire Weekend.
Yes.
Only God Was Above Us, especially their newest album.
Yes.
You know, it was just last year. I was thinking, and I was like,
You were thinking last year?
I was thinking last year, believe it or not.
Okay.
And I swear to you, our dear viewers, I was thinking, like, I could really use a new Vampire Weekend album. Because, at least for me, they've had no misses. Every single one of their albums has been a hitter.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed them all in their own ways, and I think they're a special band. I really do enjoy what they put down. This White Boy's crazy.
White boy, great.
But it's I think I'm attracted to it because it is so like Upper West Side, like kind of preppy New York.
Yeah.
Which I don't think many other bands do, or
Yeah.
at least do well. So their sound's pretty unique.
Don't forget the Afrobeat stuff that's in there.
Oh, absolutely. It's all inspired by like Paul Simon and a lot of like 80s world music, air quotes, which makes it stand out in like the indie scene. I feel like most people don't really get into that kind of stuff. But I as Marco knows, I've been keeping track of their singles coming out every week or so since they announced the album. And I was like, all right, it's a 10-track album. We've heard 4 of the songs already, and I love them all. I'm like, they have to do something horrific for me to not enjoy this album. And fortunately, they don't. So top to bottom, I think this is a fantastic album. I think it's a great welcome to like the warmer season of like spring and summer. It's very light, it's fun. The lyrical content of it is more contemplative and dark, but I think that's a symptom of like Ezra Koenig being a bit older and like world weary. And I love the evolution. I think it's sort of reverential to the past and what they've done before, but also its own thing.
Yeah.
And it is probably in the top 5 of albums I've heard this year so far. So we'll see where it goes from there. but I enjoyed it very much. Vampire Weekend, Only God Was Above Us. Check it out.
It's been a very strong year for music
Yeah,
so
it's
far.
been.
Yeah, it's been.
Yeah.
And it's only April, and in this first quarter alone, we've had Vampire Weekend, Schoolboy Q, Idols,
Yeah.
and Beyonce.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of like pretty fantastic records, and that's just like the super mainstream.
Oh yeah, there's been
albums.
tons.
There's a Rock Marciano came out with an album that, you know, if you're into underground hip hop, Rock Marciano's probably the best underground rapper of all time. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. I said it. So, all right. My cheers of the week, apropos of the first topic of this podcast, this episode, WrestleMania 40. It's going to Paul Triple H Levesque. Now, again, like we said at the top of the show, if some crazy shit comes out and Triple H is like indicted in some crazy...
They indicted me.
Indicted me. And listen, I'll take this back wholeheartedly.
Sure,
I am not one of these people who is going to die on the hill of Vince McMahon or Chris Benoit.
As of 10:31 Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday, April 10th of 2024.
Nothing insane has come out about Triple H.
Right.
So I will just say this. As a guy who has been watching wrestling on and off since I was 6 years old, Triple H has been a huge part of that.
Of course.
And as a wrestler, as an executive, as now a decision maker of what is this current era of
the Levesque era.
The Levesque era. That's how they're because they're blurring the lines between like kayfabe and reality.
Yeah.
People are calling him Paul Levesque. I know him as Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I've never known him as anything other than Hunter.
Yeah.
If we were gonna call him by his government name, it was Hunter. I didn't even know his name was Paul Levesque until very recently. I didn't even think about it. I knew Hunter Hearst Helmsley was a wrestling name, but I was like, I don't care what his real name is. Dude,
real names is this.
When you find out what these guys' real names are, it's very disappointing.
Of course. That's why they changed it.
Listen, look up the real name of Shawn Michaels.
Uh-oh.
I'll just leave it at that. So I have always, I mean, as most people, have been a big fan of Paul Levesque, Triple H. His real name, Michael Hickenbottom.
Michael Shawn Hickenbottom.
That's Shawn Michaels' real name, Michael Hickenbottom. So yeah,
he made the right choice.
It's that's why these guys changed their name. Anyway, Triple H has been, for the past couple of years, been spearheading this revolution of wrestling, and it's made everything just more interesting. Like, we talked about it again at the top of the show, but like AEW exists because they were an alternative to WWE, because
the evil empire,
right? And there was a lot of disgruntled guys who needed a place to go that wasn't New Japan or Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
And Tony Khan had the money to do it. But it also exists because Triple H is making very creative decisions with WWE, and these two companies have been able to go head to head and actually create something beautiful. If you're not somebody who is obsessed with either one, you can see the forest from the trees, and you can see what's happening, which is a revolution, a renaissance of professional wrestling. You're seeing like some of the most talented people on the planet doing things that you've never seen before. Some of the best talkers, some of the best wrestlers, some of the best bits, some of the best storylines, some of the best writers, all of these people who are enthusiastic about creating a product that works for mainstream audiences and niche audiences. All of these things come together. If you're not somebody who's tribalist and needs one thing to win over the other, you can watch AEW and WWE and go, dog, if I want to, I could fill my entire work week with wrestling between Collision, Raw, SmackDown. What's the Wednesday show? I forgot the Wednesday show. I'm sorry. I forgot. It's not Collision. It's look it up for me. But the AEW Wednesday show, NXT, like you could, Dynamite. You could fill your whole work week, and then at the end of the month, you've got pay-per-views from New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, WWE, AEW. Bro, it is the best time to be a wrestling fan.
You don't have to pick one.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Free yourself.
Take
the shackles off. It's okay.
There's no reason to have the bondage.
It's just like gaming, you know? Like you don't have to be a Sony fanboy.
Exactly.
You don't have to be an Xbox fanboy.
What's the point?
You don't have to be a PC elitist, like just a Nintendo fan. You know, like
Enjoy
play whatever you want.
Just enjoy it. Just enjoy
Go where
life.
the games are.
Dude, listen, life is too short, and it's getting too hard to have this weird tribalist mentality.
Yeah. I know it feels
good. Enjoy
life,
dude.
But you should free yourself. It feels even better.
Yeah. So, all that to say, Triple H is spearheading. I'm going to cry about it. Spearheading this renaissance of professional wrestling that has been just fun to watch take place and to enjoy, man.
Yeah.
And I just like Triple H. Just like Triple H.
He's cool.
Yeah.
As of this date.
Yeah.
Cool guy.
As of this date, yeah. Who knows
cool guy.
what kind of crazy shit he actually did? Who knows?
Sure.
But
made the wise choice of shaving his head too.
That he did.
And the beard. Shaved head, beard.
Grow the beard out.
Looks great every time.
Every time. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's what I got.
Okay. All right. That's good.
All
I
right.
like it. I dig it.
All right. Before we get out of here, you know what we got to do right now, kids, and that is review these brewskis. So, from the Oviedo Brewery, it is the...
And Rock Pit.
Oh, yes, that's right. Sorry.
Collabo.
I didn't say that at the beginning, but it is a collab with Rock Pit.
Yeah.
It's the Refresh, an Imperial Pilsner. Obi, what did you think, good sir?
I really like this one. I think it's one of the better Oviedo Brewing beers I've had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's malty. It's a little hoppy. You can, it's a little hint of booziness, but not too much. I do think that the stone fruit comes out.
Yeah.
But I disagree with all of those notes that they described. I don't think I get all of that that melange, if you will, of flavor.
Yeah.
But I do have there is a bit of fruitiness to it that I enjoy. But because yet again they overpromised with their description, I have to knock it down a peg a little bit.
Overpromised and underperformed.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it a 5. Yeah. I really enjoyed it though. I think I definitely recommend it from Oviedo Brewing. I think this is one of their strongest efforts so far. And I hope they come out with more flavors like this. It's a good omen, if you will, for the future.
Yeah.
So, yeah, approve.
I am going to give it a 4.5. Call me an elitist.
Boo!
But I don't really believe that an Imperial Pilsner should even exist. I just, not to say, and 4.5 is still a good score.
Oh, it's a great score.
So I think that I'm still praising it.
You are.
But I don't think that they should be doing anything like this. A Pilsner is a Pilsner because it's easy, crushable, it's low ABV. You can drink a ton of them. It's kind of the point. It's kind of, and it's simple ingredients of, malt, Pilsner, or I'm sorry, malt, Pilsner,
barley,
malt, barley, hops, water. That's it. It's
keep it simple, stupid.
It's a very simple thing. It doesn't have to go too crazy. We don't need all these weird notes and all this. It's just,
bah humbug.
Bah, exactly. Is it something that's super crushable?
No.
Easy to drink? No, it's not.
It's not.
I couldn't.
That's why I shot it down a little bit because it's it's not. It's you're trying to say it is, but it's not.
It's not. 16-ounce cans of an 8.5% Pilsner.
No.
You're committing murder, Oviedo and Rock Pit. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So,
but a tasty murder it is.
But it is a taste. It is tasty. It is tasty, and that's why I have to give it a 4.5 because it is pretty tasty.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
There you go. 4.5 for myself, a 5 for you.
Yes, sir.
Do you think we got it?
I know we got it.
Well, if Obi says we got it, then that means this episode is over. This has been the One Beer In podcast for myself, Marco Dupa, for Adam Obesius Rodriguez.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you guys for listening. Drink delicious beer and have yourself a beautiful evening.
R.I.P. Cigar City Brewing.
Highlight.
Highlight.